Hello everyone, welcome back from home. We're here at X Delft and we're happy to announce that we're doing Fermentation Festival 2021 here at X. We have a beautiful lineup of 26 beers, all brewed by, homebrewed by our participants, and we're happy to have you here. So I'm Julian and this is Maxime. We'll be your hosts for tonight. I say, let's get into it.
Yeah, it's of course a little bit of an unusual setting for the Fermentation Festival. You may be familiar with it. This is the 4th time that it's organized, and it's an event organized by Study Association Life. So this is the Study Association for Life Science and Technology students at the TU Delft and Leiden University. And so we are both also LST students. So this is the first ever online edition. Julian, what will the program look like?
Yeah, sure. So the program. It's important to know when you're getting your beer and what you're going to be watching. So we have 4 sessions, and in between each session, about 6 or 7 beers will be tasted by our beloved jury. And these beers will take 5 minutes, where we'll go through an introduction of the beer, have some sort of entertainment, and then go over to the jury to see what they think about it. So yeah, that's it. That's the program.
And if you bought a beer package, or if you're one of the participating teams, you should have received a flyer. And in the flyer, you can also find the program. So yeah, we'd say taste along with the jury, see if you agree with them or not. And there will also be some interaction with you at home. So in every beer tasting session of 5 minutes, we'll have a Mentimeter, which is sort of an interaction tool. And we'll ask you questions about your opinion of the beer. For example, what the label looks like, what do you think it tastes like, or just some random fun fact. And in between these 4 tasting sessions, we're having breaks with entertainment. So we have live music for you. We have some clips by our partner brewery, the Koperen Kat. We have a scientific interview, and we have a Meet the Committee clip. So a lot to do today.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Sure. So for now, of course, the most important people today is the jury, because they will decide on who is today's winner. So it's time to introduce them. So this is the first jury table, and we have split the jury in 2, just so they don't have to taste 26 different beers. So now it's 13, so it should be okay. And you may have seen them on our Instagram, but here they are in real life. And so, yeah, we'd like to ask you to introduce yourself. So maybe we can start at the left. Vincent, can you tell us something about yourself? How long have you been brewing?
Yes, I hope you guys can hear me. My name is Vincent Das. I think you might recognize me from the brewery or brewing introduction that I gave. Normally I work at Delft DSM site, where I'm a performance engineer. And I'm also a alumni from the TU Delft, studied life science and technology, and brew at home.
Clear? Oh, let's continue. Janneke?
Yes, thanks. My name is Janneke van Rentgen. I'm also, just like Vincent, an alumni of life science and technology. I worked a couple of years at Heineken, and since 3 years I'm the brewery manager of tasteful. So that's why I'm here.
Great.
Thanks.
On to the next. Bas.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Bas Vollebrecht, also a former TU Delft student, unfortunately not LST. And at the moment I'm an alderman and deputy mayor for the city of Delft, amongst else responsible for economics and culture. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to today.
Glad to have you here. Mark?
Hi everybody. My name is Mark. I'm a brewer at the Koperen Kat, so your partner brewing thingy. Me and Vincent gave the beer course, so you might recognize me too. And I guess that's about it.
I think it's time to move on to the second table, which consists of another 4 jury members. So if you follow me, maybe Henry, you can start with your introduction.
Yeah, hello. My name is Henry Reuglin. I'm also alumnus of TU Delft Biotechnology, and I'm the founder of the Stibon Dutch Beer Education and chairman of the Dutch Beer Week, which was 2 weeks ago. But I think we should have a Delft Beer Week this week.
Great, great. Good to hear. Dick, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Puk Kerkhoven. I'm a culinary journalist. I write about food and drinks, and I'm fond of beer very much. And I wrote a book about it, Beer and Food, about the combination. And I'm also a jury at several competitions, beer competitions and challenges. And I work for professional magazines in the horeca sector.
Great. Go ahead,
Rick
Rick.
Kempen, it's great to be here in this great group of people, but I'm pretty sure that from all of them I have the best job there is. I'm beer ambassador. My job consists of talking about beer, giving presentations, trainings, beer and food pairings and stuff. I also do some juring at some international events, and I'm really looking forward to tasting the homebrews from the Delft students.
Awesome. So are we. Fred, last but not least.
Hi, I'm Fred de Bruyne. I work at Brouwerij Het Ei in Amsterdam, and I've been a passionate brewer for more than 8 years now. And I'm really excited to taste the beers.
Good to hear.
Okay, well, thanks
Thank
to all of you for being here. I think most of you will know Fred. I mean, everyone has tasted the Brouwerij Het Ei beer, so it may be from his hand. And before we continue with the first tasting session, we think it's important to explain to you how you should actually taste. So I think a lot of you have received the beers at home, so you can taste along with the jury. But it's not so simple to taste the beer, so maybe one of the jury members can explain how should you do this.
That's an invitation for me to
Yes.
give you a small
Yes, Rick.
tour on how to taste.
If you
Well,
may.
funnily enough, when tasting beer, the last thing you do is to actually zip it. It starts with smelling. Aromas is a massive component of beer. In Dutch we use the word smaak. In English we use taste and flavor. Taste would be the same thing as we would call smaak, like zoet, zout, sweet, salty, bitter and stuff. But flavor is actually the complete intensity of what you actually perceive. And so aroma makes up a huge part of it. So you always start by sniffing. And then you can smell all sorts of things. It can be flowery, it can be fruity, it can be chocolatey, it can be coffee-like, it can be totally dirty, it can be like cat piss or nail polish remover. In that case, there is something wrong in beer. But you start with smelling. The next thing is actually looking at the beer. By looking at the beer, you can already tell a lot about what you can expect from beer. When it is dark in color, a dark malt has been used in the brew. And that will always give coffee-like, caramel-like, chocolate-like flavor components. When it looks red, you can safely assume there has been use of fruit in the beer. So by simply looking at it, you can already say a few things about beer, but also, importantly, does it look nice? When something looks nice, it will probably taste better. It's like that head and shoulders moment. You only have one chance for the first impression, and that first impression will be a lasting one. And then finally, it's time for trying to see if you can put your visual and nasal aroma impressions together in the final proof in the pudding. Always try and take a sip, short one, swallow it swiftly, and then take a second sip. Leave it longer in the mouth so it warms up. It will release additional aromas. Breathe out through your nose, very importantly to get additional retronasal flavor components and aroma components. And then there's only one decision to be made. Do you like it or not? We actually will use this very elaborate jury report where we will score the beers on several sites, like how does it look, how does it taste, how does it smell, what do we think of the label, what do we think about originality. Finally, that's where the results come from. So the most important thing, and the lesson for everyone, never just drink a beer. Pay some attention to whatever you are drinking or eating, and you will find that your life will be hugely enriched.
The full experience.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah,
Great to
I
hear.
hope people made notes.
Yeah, as we just heard, it's
we-
not just tasting, it's not just taking a sip of a drink, it's more smelling, it's everything that the beer has. So.
Yes. I think now it's time to go to the first round of tasting. So I think it's good if we will explain what these tasting rounds will look like, because we've now talked through the program, introduced the jury, and also explained about how you should taste. So it's time for the first beer, And don't forget, so while we introduce the beer, pour it out at home already, so you're ready to taste when the jury is ready as well. So the first beer, it's on the flyer, it's Club 230, and they have brewed Panda beer. And in fact, this is your team, Julian.
I'm going to be a little biased here. It's my own beer. I'm brewed by my own house. So I'll just explain a little. It's Panda beer. We added the secret ingredient, which is bamboo, actually. So let's hope the jury tastes it.
Not secret anymore now.
Not secret anymore. No, it's out there for anyone to use. Yeah, it's a light beer, blonde, and let's hope the jury likes it. And maybe we can quit tasting after this beer already.
I'll only trust the jury with their judgment because it's your beer, of course. And so for every beer, we have a Mentimeter. So we'll walk to the screen right now. So this is the part where you can join in from at home. So we'd advise use your cell phone, go to www.menti.com and use the code. So I hope you can see it. Otherwise, I'll give you some time to go to the website.
Yeah, so the code is 728439371. So I hope you all join, and maybe we'll see you there on the board.
Yeah. So this is how it will go. So yeah, I hope people have managed to get into the Mentimeter. So otherwise, if you just ended up on the site, once more the code 72849371.
And I think it's time to go to the first question.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's see. I think it's about the label. What do you guys at home think of this label? Let us know. So we move one slide further. We can actually see the results from you people at home.
So one person likes it.
One person likes it.
Perfect. I think this is the team that brewed the beer, made the beer.
Decent. Okay, great results.
So divided results.
Yeah, divided results. I think it's then time to maybe head to the jury and see what they find of the beer.
Yeah, so for the first beer, we'll go to the table 1. So we've arrived at the first beer. Well, we'll leave it to you. What's your first impression? What does it smell like? Tell us your opinion.
Oh, I just said we never ate bamboo, really. So
we said to each other we do not know if we taste the bamboo, but I've actually never tasted bamboo. So.
The first beer is unique already.
Yeah.
Well, it is unique. It has some kind of taste that I cannot place, but I'm the least professional person at this table.
But if you have a look at it, it's a little bit hazy. It has some foam, and it stays the foam, so it looks stable. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Great.
What do you think, Janneke?
Yeah, you can see it on my face. I'm still a little bit in the doubt. As you were mentioning, I do not eat bamboo often, but it's not. I don't recognize it really in the beer. Although I do think it's technically it's brewed quite well. There is some bitterness in it as well. I like the color, and if I compare it to the label, I do like the label. But if I read the description that it's quite fresh and so on, I don't really relate it to the label.
The story on the label was funny though.
Yeah, definitely.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
But it's indeed, the aftertaste is quite bitter. And I don't know if that's only because of the hops or it's also the bamboo a little bit at play, because in the off flavor you also taste something else. Yeah. You taste the herbal of the hops, but there's also
something metallic, something metallic or in it. Or
could it be because of the bamboo?
Could be. I don't know.
Could be the effect.
Never tasted it in a beer.
So next time we'll use bamboo as a snack as well.
Then we can compare.
Yeah,
sure. Thank you for your feedback. I think it's helpful for my team. And we'll keep it for the next brewing. We'll keep it in mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's go to the second beer.
Yeah. Let's go back to the Mentimeter. The second beer is from HOLLAND LINIE. And they made a New England Indian Pale, which is meant to be hazy, cloudy, either creamy, so kind of on the sweeter side. We'll let the jury decide if that's the case, really. And they called it a plastic barrel-aged beer.
And mango infused.
Mango infused as well. Yeah. So I think a lot of beers here are plastic aged.
Yeah.
But we'll find out what the jury thinks of it. And it's supposed to be kind of tropical and aromatic. So we'll see.
They also mentioned that the beer contains blood, sweat, and tears. So we're interested whether you can maybe taste something sour in it. Certainly interesting ingredients, and that it also involved a burnt floor. We don't know what that's all about, but it suggests that something went wrong during the brewing. But maybe it's still very good. And so it's also dry hopped. That's all the background they gave. I think HOLLAND LINIE also participated in the first Fermentation Festival, so they should be experienced brewers.
Yeah, we'll see. But let's go to the next slide on the Mentimeter and see what it has in store for us. A fun fact, which is that at any given time, 0.7% of the world population is drunk. Interesting.
50 million people.
50 million people. I can imagine after this beer brewing, there will be 8 more added to that.
8 and all the people at home, so it will be 50 million plus a few hundred.
Yeah.
So let's get to the jury. I think you've seen the beer. I think you've also tasted it. What do you think?
My grandmother used to say, when it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, you can safely assume it's a duck. If I'm being told I'm going to be tasting a Nijpa, I'm expecting something different than this. It should be really cloudy, it should be way more light in color, and hop bitterness should really not be perceived. It should all be about fruitiness. Even if it's mango infused, I don't really seem to get it. It's way more spicy actually, and way more prickly, massive amounts of CO2. Which is a bit of a conundrum I'm in now, because I kind of like the beer, but for the style they want it to be, it's not a duck.
Do the others agree?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I like the beer, in fact. I do like the beer. And I was almost inclined it was like a Weizen or something. So a little
Weizen
banana,
wine,
a banana kind of thing, which I liked. Now I have to rearrange my phone because I'm supposed to say something about the label, but
Alright, it's a QR code. Right.
QR code, but my scanner is out of date, so I'm looking to
Thank God it's only
my
your scanner.
Yes. Otherwise, you can.
Otherwise, they have 1 point and they will not win. But
Tough jury.
it's true. I agree with Rick.
But for
It doesn't quack. It says. It's not a
Oink,
duck.
oink.
Oink.
yeah, for New England IPA it lacks fresh hops.
Fresh fruitiness.
Fruitiness.
Yeah. So maybe if they branded it different type of beer, it would have been okay.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
yeah.
For the
it
teams,
actually tastes good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
for the teams, it's safer to not say anything about the purpose of your brewing process, but just let the jury taste it. And
Next year.
yeah,
Next year.
Okay. Well, thanks
Thank
for
you.
your judgment. I think we'll get to the third beer.
So do
Let's
I.
go back to the other table.
Hoe doen jullie dat nou met punten?
So next up is Team OXO. And Team OXO was remarkable. They were one of the few teams that used transparent bottles, and this certainly had a nice effect because they have a very brightly orange-colored beer, so it really stood out. And it's supposed to be a blonde beer. Can you tell us more, Julian?
Yeah, I think they had a really professional label. We can maybe see it in a minute on the table right here. Really a sticker and printed out well, and it fit the see-through glass. Also on top of that, the full recipe is disclosed on the label. So for anyone who wants to maybe brew it at home, you could just by following the ingredients. So that's it.
Okay. So
maybe head back to the Mentimeter.
Sure.
And see what it has in store for us. So yeah, Team OXO. For all of you at home, what is meant with SG value? People from the brewing course should know this.
I think the answer is on the screen already.
Small technical difficulties.
But we'll assume that every team knew this, because this was of course part of the brewing course.
Yeah.
SG stands for specific gravity, or maybe sometimes it stands for something else, Julian?
I'm not sure.
You're not so
no,
sure?
it's a student term, and if some people say it out loud, like this word here, they have to slam their keys into to a can of beer and chug it. So that's also a term of SG, kind of different from specialty beers.
We won't do that today.
No.
So let's hear about the jury's judgment.
Yeah, sure.
We're back again at table 1.
What do you think?
Should I make a joke?
Yeah,
Yeah, you should start with the joke.
It was a
Sorry.
good joke.
It's maybe a sad joke, but we think it's a bit oxidized, this beer, and it says so on the label. It's oxo blonde. So sorry about that.
Perhaps you should explain what that means.
Yeah, it means that that perhaps some oxygen entered the beer in the brewing process. So yeah, you get the taste of a beer that's been on the table for a while, and you know the transparent bottles look fun, but it doesn't really help with getting the light out of your beer. That also might have a bit of
it tastes dood.
It tastes, without wanting to be harsh, it starts to taste a bit cardboardy from oxidizing. So the really fresh peaks from the beer get a bit dull.
And just to remind the team, this was because they possibly let in some air during the fermentation. Yeah.
That probably happened.
Yeah.
Although I do really like the look of
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
beer.
True.
And if you see that it's a blonde beer and it's fresh, the label is really good. Combined with the color of the beer, I think that's a very strong point. I do miss a little bit the sweetness of a blonde beer. Although it's light, it's 5.5%, but
what I did notice in the smell is that you do smell alcohol or esters. There's something spicy to it in the smell, but in the flavor, indeed, it's a bit dull. But it might be that it's the overweight of the oxidation, so the cardboard, that therefore you do not taste the alcohol or the. But there's also not this freshness of a blonde, and on the label it says fresh, and so you.
now there are some fresh esters actually.
What I do like, the detail of the color of the beer matches the color of the label. So I don't know if they first bottled it and then looked for what do I need to print, but it matches almost perfectly.
Let's assume so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you for your feedback.
Yes, thanks. Yeah,
That's
very solid feedback, I think, for the team as well.
Yeah.
I think let's go to the
next
beer
team.
now.
Yeah,
Yes.
the fourth beer already halfway through the first round. And the fourth beer is actually the SHAWSHANK BRAUHAUS. So this is their beer is called Delft's Goud or Delft's Gold, relating to the Delft's Blue kind of pottery. It is brewed by a student house themselves, and it kind of has a fruity, hoppy, and slightly bitter flavor, with a little bit of a hint of lemon. Let's see if that's the case. And they already actually have some experience in brewing, so we might have to expect a little bit more from them.
Yeah, I think they've participated earlier in the festival as well. And they also, initially they didn't even bottle it, so we were happy that we did manage to obtain some bottles because they transferred it to a keg instead. But eventually they managed to bring us, I think, 1 crate of beer to taste. So that's great. Maybe we can go to the Mentimeter. It's a quote this time.
From Plato.
Plato, a wise man, and he says, he was a wise man who invented beer.
Wow, interesting.
Well, if Plato says so, it must be true.
Yeah, sure.
And then I think we can go to the jury judgment again.
For sure. Oh, jury, what do you think of the beer?
It smells fantastic.
Yeah.
Fresh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it.
fresh. You smell and taste the lemon.
Now the tasting.
Yeah, the hoppiness.
Yeah.
It's a nice beer.
Yeah.
Although it's good that you said that they made it in a keg because the label is underwhelming.
Is there any label at all?
Yeah, there is a label. Yeah. I mean,
Oh
but
yes, they just.
this is
added
choice
it.
1 and this is choice 2. So it is. There's some improvement visible, but I hope there are better labels than this.
Again, it has a very high carbonation. And I'm not sure whether that's from home brewing or making the transfer from the keg, but it's a little bit overcarbonated for me. I kind of like the balance here. The only comment that you could make in a more negative way is that the bitterness seems to be persisting very long in the aftertaste, where you sort of seem to lose the lemony element, which I really like both in the smell and in the initial taste.
But I kind of like that because the bitterness tells you time for a new sip. So if you really want to drink, it's nice and warm. This beer is going to be my it's going to be a favorite.
It makes the aftertaste makes it an adult beer.
Maybe we can also agree that there are a lot of Dutch professional breweries who will not easily manage to kick this level. It's actually a pretty good beer.
It's a good
I think so too.
Oh, I think the team likes to hear that.
Nice compliments for the
Yeah.
SHAWSHANK BRAUHAUS.
Yeah.
You have to love them for the name, by the way. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you name your team after such a good movie, then the beer must be good as well.
Sure.
Well, up
Maybe
next.
time to move on to the next beer already, the fifth beer. And this is the BRASSERSBEER. They gave out a warning, both on their label and when we picked up the crates and the beer itself. So also for the jury here, they mentioned it was explosive. I'm not sure if they meant it literally or metaphorically, but I think we'll see when they might open the beer. Should we go there and see if they
maybe we can get a shot
it
of
really
opening
is
the beer.
explosive?
So explosive can be good, of course, if it's like a
It
very
could be.
intense taste.
Could be.
But let do you have them? Ooh,
Not explosive
that
at
was
all.
A very anticlimactic.
So maybe they meant it for the taste then.
Yes, yes,
Could
we'll
be,
see.
could be. Okay. So this beer is actually a light blonde beer. It's sparkling and it has a touch of orange and coriander. At least they say so. So we'll give this beer to the jury and... oh, they already have the beers.
Yes.
and see what they think of it.
And I like the label as well. We're here, right? Table 2. So I like the label as well. It's sort of an abstract art. Am I at the right table or not? No, I have to go back.
Wrong
Okay,
table,
let's
wrong
see.
table. Let's head back.
Not
How are
even,
you
not
going?
even. But of course, our opinion doesn't matter. So, what do you think, for example, of the label?
Colorful.
Colorful.
A bit more simple than the other beers we've tasted until now, but we're going to taste a bit more.
Do you taste any explosiveness, as they mentioned?
Well, there's
Well, the
something
smell was explosive in some ways, I guess.
definitely.
What did you think it smelled like?
Yeah, a little bit apples actually, but that's kind of weird.
You described it well, indeed.
She said apple jelly.
Well, you mentioned it.
The taste like apple jelly?
Sour.
Yeah.
But I expected a much more sour taste than it actually was. So the smell really impressed me, and I guessed, okay, I'm kind of scared to taste this, but I think the smell is quite nice. It's a bit strange. There's something in it I cannot place.
Do you recognize the orange and coriander hints they wanted?
Well, there's some fruitiness in the smell, but at first hand, indeed, it is well described as appelmoes. But if you say orange juice, that's somewhere there in the smell as well. But the first main flavor that you get is sourness. So you feel your mouth clenching a little bit.
Although it's 7%, I don't taste it in the body of the beer. It's
That's a
quite
good one.
fresh
It's quite
and
thin.
light. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
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 And is sourness necessarily a bad thing for a beer? Or?
Depends.
No, it's not. But if you're aiming for a blonde beer,
It should be sweet.
yeah, in my opinion. But I don't know.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if the sourness was intended in this beer or not. It could be the
I don't think so actually.
orange, but I don't know.
What do you think caused it then? Or what is a possible cause of the sourness?
That's hard to say. It might be slightly infected, but it could also be
CO2
the orange.
is actually
So
quite high as well. Eh?
Yeah,
If you
it's
tasted it, so it might be infected indeed.
It's really dry, and indeed an infection can ferment quite further, so
Yeah.
explains the
It might be
thinness.
explosive in a couple of weeks. In that case, yeah.
Okay, we'll not keep it in the store here then.
Hygiene is the most important in the beer brewing process.
Yeah, true. I think we have one more question actually for the Mentimeter. So thank you, jury, and we'll come back in a few minutes. So, if I'm not mistaken, this question was about brewing beer for the first time. Because we're interested, how many of you have brewed your own beer before? For this one edition of Fermentation Festival. Because there are first timers, there are people who have done the 30th time, so we're interested. Have you brewed your own beer before?
Yes, I've participated twice, and I think 2 years ago we tried to go for sort of lavender-like beer, but it really required some improvisation. Eventually we used lavendel tea to brew it. I don't think that's a really orthodox way of brewing beer, but it was decent. It wasn't infected.
Vincent even mentioned during the brewing course, don't use
tea.
This
was before the course.
Yeah, that's true. You didn't win any prizes?
Well, you got third place for the the public prize, so when people could vote. But I think we just told a lot of people, please vote for us. So that was probably the cause.
Give them some money.
No, without no corruption involved.
Well, if you look at what the people send in, we see that a lot of them didn't or haven't brewed any beer yet.
Yeah.
And some have, so that's interesting to know about your audience.
Yeah, it's good to see that the Fermentation Festival really is a incentive for teams to start brewing. That's what we aim for.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's time to move on to not the final, but one before the final beer for this round. So this team has an interesting name.
Interesting name, yes. So it's Master BEREN. For the people who talk Dutch, it's interesting. We won't explain it. Maybe these guys in times of Corona haven't had enough interaction with girls, social possibilities to meet them. And I think one of the members of this team is also our contact person at X. So he also brewed himself. Yeah. And now about their beer.
Yeah, let's hope it's bearable. In other words, they mentioned themselves. Bear witness of the marvelous wonder we created, which sets high standards. So I'm not sure if they can keep up to this. And the Mentimeter shows a different slide for the Master beer. Let's see. What's your favorite beer at home? What's your favorite beer, Maxime?
Well, I'm not very original. I think I really like a Leffe Blonde from time to time. And in summer on the terrace, I enjoy an IPA for the freshness and the fruitiness.
Yeah.
How about you?
I like a triple carmelite, which is just a classic. I like it. Let's see. Nobody voted yet.
So if you haven't joined, you can always join the Mentimeter online by typing in the code.
Schultenbrouw.
Schultenbrouw. Oh, this is probably a student.
Yeah, I think so.
IPA, wit beer.
Yeah. Okay.
Clock, another student.
Not that expensive beers. Kind of belongs to
it's
the students.
Good price-quality ratio.
I see some Panda beer, which is the first beer we brewed. So.
Yeah. Your team is online.
A lot of answers coming right now. Thank you for the answers, and I think it's time to head to the jury and see what they think of it.
Let's see.
This time we're at the right jury, I believe. So, what do you think of the beer?
Like you said, the name is really doubtly
provoking.
And I think the label connects with that. And we think we taste a little bit of nail polish.
So very bitter.
No, it's actually sourish.
Yeah, sourish.
I guess the advice would be to wash your hands in between masturbation and brewing.
Yeah.
Don't do that to me.
Oh my God.
No, I mean this is what can happen if not proper hygiene is being used. There is clearly an infection. You already smell the Hansaplast-like and nail polish-like negative aromas, and then in the taste it's definitely a harsh sourness. That if that is intended in the beer, then they were really having a giggle before they launch it to us, because
we didn't get that information, so
not bearable. Okay. What about the label? I see some the bottle there. Do they have a label?
Yeah, we had to look it up on the internet. And that's a beer, a bear with a heart. And that was just about it.
Yeah, we miss the heart in the beer.
Very well put.
Yeah.
Rough comments.
Very
Thanks
hard
for
about
your,
this.
for your honesty.
Sorry.
I hope the team still has enough spirit left to maybe try again next year.
Yeah, maybe then we will be fine for them.
Yeah. And for the jury, you don't have to drink it all if you really don't like it.
One plus the color is quite nice.
The color is nice.
Okay, that's a compliment.
Maybe every team you have
I
to
agree
give,
on that.
each team a compliment as well. Let's do that to stay positive.
Thank you for your comments. Let's head to the seventh beer and the final beer of this round.
There's a lot of answers now. Maybe we
yeah,
should wait
there
longer
is.
next time.
Yeah, next time we'll wait.
Vos Kanon.
So this next beer is the Captain Falcon. And this is one of the few beers brewed in Leiden, actually. Most beers are here brewed locally in Delft. But this one comes from a team in Leiden, from the Katina board. And it's supposed to be a sweet and hoppy Belgian double beer.
Okay. And we also had a look at the information they provided to us. They were not very specific about their brewing protocol. So it mentions that the beer fermented at a certain temperature for a certain time. So it remains a little mysterious. If you want to brew it at home, you probably have to contact them because you cannot choose this
Maybe
information.
you want to keep the recipe secret.
Yeah, that's possible as well. But we'll have a look later. Let's first go to the Mentimeter for this team. So we're at the end of the first round. We've tasted 7 beers. Maybe at home you haven't tasted them all 7, but we're very interested, generally speaking, how did you like the beer so far? So there's a very nice plot coming up.
Okay. I see some people like it, some people don't like it at all. It edges towards not that good, which might mean that this round wasn't the best round. But we'll maybe see better next round. Yeah. We'll see. But first, let's head to jury again, I think, and see what they have in store.
Sure. So the last beer will go to the jury. Here we are again. So I see there's not a lot of foam on the beer. Is that because it has stood on the table for a while, or?
No, it kind of came out of the bottle like this, which also a fun fact because it's brewed by our friends from Leiden. Well, and you can see very clearly that they take circularity very seriously. They're recycled bottles, so that's a good aspect of the beer.
Great.
And also the color is nice, but indeed it's a bit of missing foam.
Yeah.
And for the taste, Mark?
Yeah, well, I wanted to say something about the foam, and it's probably due to the fact that the Dutch bastard suiker is used, and that usually contains an anticoagulant, so the sugar doesn't really become one clump, and that's probably what it's done to the foam as well. So it breaks up into beer.
Yeah.
So not a lot of foam on the beer.
And also there's a very limited amount of CO2, so that doesn't help if there is any foam. And there is no CO2 then I recommend.
It's very flat.
Yeah, indeed. Vincent, what about the aromas?
Yeah, leave the tough question for me. Okay.
It should
We're
be
talking around it a
sweet,
bit.
hoppy Belgian double beer. Is there any sweet?
There is some sweetness into it indeed, probably from the sugar that is into it. But it has a complex aroma, especially in the smell. The first thing that came up to me, but my colleagues didn't recognize it, so it's probably not in it, and it's also not on the label, but I thought coffee. Mm-hmm. But there's an interesting smell to it, and the flavor is perhaps a little bit herbal in combination with sugar. It's an interesting combination.
And should we interpret interesting as
good or bad?
Sure. Very
special beer.
With a little bit room for improvement, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to say it.
Well, thanks again for your wise judgment.
I think we head back to screen now. Well, we've just tasted 7 of the beers. I think it's time for some behind-the-screen action and see what we have done as a committee ourselves for the last few months, actually, maybe year even. And we want to introduce the committee to you at home, and see who are we, and who is the Spacey. Because the Spacey actually has the longest committee name of whole of the LST student committee, student board association, and it stands for Specialty Brewing Festival Commission.
Yes. So the longest committee names out of all 34 committees. It's an honor. And yes, so we started a year ago with the preparations, like June, July 2020, after every online meeting we had, because most of them obviously were online, we ourselves also tasted a craft beer because we wanted to become experts ourselves as well. And we've also done a beer tasting by Vincent Das, so we hope that we are sort of experts ourselves as well. And we thought, just to introduce the rest of our committee, we'd show you a little clip. And this was recorded on one of our Beundagen last Sunday. Beundag, we're not sure about the translation, but it's sort of a day that we were just full on working. So, well, let's have a look.
Enjoy. Ja. Nou, allemaal 5 minuten pauze.
Hi everyone, we just had a well-deserved break. This is the entire committee.
Hello.
Are you drinking beer at the university? Is that correct?
0%.
Oh, 0%.
Just the refreshments.
Okay. And we're going back outside to continue burning.
Yes.
Let's go!
Let's go!
So welcome back into the next tasting round. So this round has 6 beers. So one on the flyer. Oh, I heard a beer pop. So one on the flyer. Team the Blijdorpers didn't manage to hand in their beer, so we'll have 6 beers. So we'll have the BREWFESSORS. You can hear the bottle pop.
The loud popping, yeah.
So the BREWFESSORS, of course, the name implies that there's years of research behind this beer, and in fact they claim something alike. Their label states that the recipe originates in 1899, and the name of the beer is de Proef. So also suggests that it's sort of an experiment, like a scientific experiment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So they actually mentioned an alcohol percentage of 5.64328%. Kind of specific. I don't know where they got the number from. Maybe they kind of used the gas chromatography or the.
If they're professors, then they can. Maybe they have taken a sample and walked it through a lab.
Could have done it. Yeah. Let's take a look at the Mentimeter of the BREWFESSORS and see what it has to say. So it's a Q&A. Do you have any questions for us? Anything you want to know about us, who we are? what kind of beer we like?
Maybe no interest at all, but we'll give them some time.
Yeah, could be. The other answers also came up late, so maybe there's some delay. And maybe interesting for the label as well. It has a professor on it. Maybe they sketched it themselves. Could be, and then printed it. So yeah, they had a whole story about the scientific part, and kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, I think we can continue. I'm very disappointed in you guys at home. So let's skip it and let's go to the jury.
Yeah.
So, well, you've received the bottle, you've poured the beer out. What are your first thoughts?
Nice color. Nice try to make a Dunkelweizen. Now the tasting.
For me, the smell is, again, a little bit of nail polish, baby vomit. If I dig in very deep, I think the baby has been eating bananas.
First a compliment, hey?
No, the color was good.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. The name and the label are really nice.
Yeah.
Really original. But I agree with Henry. Yeah.
I think the professor has to go back to school.
Yeah.
What about the loud plopping? Does it have to do anything with the beer, or is it just a form of the bottle?
Probably infected. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's
Because
too bad.
usually Weizen has a lot of CO2,
CO2.
and if it's affected, even more.
Yeah.
But again, we actually noticed with the beer we had before that the one bottle was way better than the bottle that the two of us had. So there's always a little bit of a difference, apparently. Again, due to hygiene. I want to make another little positive note. I kind of like the creamy mouthfeel. I mean, it does have a bite, but it does resemble of a Dunkelweizen.
The creaminess.
So a little bit like, is it thicker? More viscous?
Yeah.
A more, literally a more
soft.
creamy,
Soft,
silky-like mouthfeel. But then indeed the harshness of
The harshness of the
the-
acidity.
sets in, yeah.
Nail polish.
It's a bit too spicy, I think.
Yeah, I don't mind that in a Dunkelweizen. That is kind of okay, actually. It's way more remarkable that basically all beers have been the same color anyway.
So a lot of different opinions. I think very valuable feedback as well from the team.
I think so as well.
So, well, let's move on.
Yeah, sure. Actually, we have a quick question from the audience. Do the jury taste all the beers?
No, luckily they don't, because we have 26 of them. Of course, you don't drink the entire beer if you taste it, but we thought 26 would be a bit too much. So first they taste, both tables taste 13. And afterwards we'll make a top 2 of both tables, because they assign certain scores to the beer. And then collectively they will taste the top 4. And then make a judgment on which one was the best, and the top 3. So there's 4 beers that is tasted by all the jury members, but the beer tasting rounds only include 13 beers per jury member.
Yeah. Are there any more questions? Or is this it? Could also be. Okay. Then we'll move on to the next beer. which is the hop skewer. And they mentioned op hop van zegen, which is a Dutch term, but it means they're not very confident in their beer, I think. They're trying to justify their beer. And it's also their first ever brew, they mentioned. So they also noted that we are the guinea pigs, which doesn't forebode very well. It's an IPA actually as well.
Yeah.
So
and they also explained that they had UFOs. So do you know what an UFO is, Julian?
Unidentified flying objects?
Well, apparently not. It's an unexplanatory fermentation obstacle. So these guys have encountered some problems during the beer brewing process. At least they have found a very original name for it.
Yeah.
And they lost 2 liters in a mysterious way during the beer brewing process. We may suspect one of the team has drank it, but
maybe sabotage from our team.
They don't know where it is. So let's see. We have a question again this time.
It's actually a definition of IPA. For all the people at home who don't know what an IPA means or what it stands for. It's a pale ale made with extra hops. So yeah, it's kind of more bitterish.
Yeah, and I think the jury should add to this or correct me, but it was invented by the British when they when India was one of their colonies, and they wanted to supply the British people in India with beer. But this was a 6-month journey overseas. And the shelf time of a beer was not long enough to keep it tasty. And by adding more hops, the shelf life was extended, and they were able to supply the British people in India with good beer as well. And then it remained a solid recipe, still today.
And on that note, I think it's time to see if the hop skewer is a good IPA.
Yeah.
And see what the jury likes it.
Yeah, let's go. So I hope the story about the IPAs was correct. So an IPA is a hoppier beer. Does it taste like a hoppier beer? Indeed?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, for sure. You do recognize indeed the hoppy aroma. There's also some bitterness in the aftertaste. So that's typical for an IPA.
It also smells quite fruity. It also tastes a bit fruity. So they succeeded in, I think that was the goal also to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So is it quite a fruity IPA or more of a heavy bitter one?
It's not that bitter. We sort of agreed that we recognize the the flavor of melon in it as opposed to real tropical fruit, but it's really good actually. I think.
So they did well for the first time brewing. That's good to hear.
Is this the first time? Yes.
This is the first time brewing.
Wouldn't have guessed that.
Okay.
We would.
The taste is really good.
We would wish for a bit more CO2. That would also bring out more of the aromas. But
And I also like the label combined with the name, although we see barley instead of the hops on the label. But yeah, it looks good, right? Yeah.
Very positive comments.
Yeah.
Just maybe a little bit more carbonation, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, but definitely if this is the first time brewing, we're really impressed.
You should pursue a career in.
Definitely.
This is the first time.
more competition.
Don't pursue.
One thing that they might look into further is what kind of IPA do you want? Because you have American, you have English IPAs, New England. There are many varieties. So you can play around a little bit with the types of hop that you want to use then. So you can create more fruity, more bitterness. This seems to be still a little bit in the middle. This is an average level IPA.
Mm-hmm. But it also makes it very accessible for a lot
That's
of
true, yeah.
people, so that's also interesting.
Is that a good way to start with an average IPA, or is it better to start with a more bitter? Or
Depends on what you want, right?
Yeah,
I guess.
I think you should brew what you like. So if you like these,
yeah, I think IPA is not the easiest beer to start with. When it's
and
your
the
first
taste
beer,
is
so
really interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Positive comments.
Great comments. Thanks for your feedback. So let's move on to the next beer.
Yes.
And the next beer is brewed by a team with the team name Rohelio. And they told us they have tried to brew a hoppy brown ale. And there's a nice story on the label about a man whose name was Rohelio and who was the first to express his love for brown ale. And that he used to sneak into breweries and add chocolate malt to the fermenter so he could, get his way.
Kind of a fun, maybe fiction, we don't know, story. on the label, so that kind of adds some character to the beer, maybe.
Yeah.
About character, their beer is supposed to be a kind of a heavier kind of beer, more malty and nutty taste. So that's supposed to be the beer. But let's head to the Mentimeter and see if we have another question for the audience or another interaction.
Yeah, let's see.
It's another fact. And it says that beer is the third most popular drink in the world after water and tea. What do you think? Do you drink more beer than water and tea?
I do think I drink more water, but I think certainly in the student world, beer is definitely a popular drink. But my mother always used to tell me, for every equivalent of alcohol glass you drink on a night out, when you come home, drink 1 glass of water for it. Well,
could be a lot of water.
Yeah, so sometimes there should probably be a maximum, but this is an advice I live by and I also recommend to everyone at home. It really makes the hangover a lot less.
Follow the advice of Maxim's mother.
She's a doctor.
I think it's time to head to the jury.
Yes, let's see.
Yeah. So, jury, what do you think? Is it actually more of a malty, nutty taste?
I think it has a malty taste, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
And it was really remarkable. It was the first beer on our table with a good head, good foam retention.
Yeah. I think I missed the hoppiness a bit.
Okay.
If you name it a hoppy brown ale, I missed the hoppiness.
Well, then maybe we should switch glasses again like last time, because I find some hoppiness.
Okay.
I really applaud the idea to not make a blonde or an IPA, but do something else with darker malts, which is always interesting, the interplay between dark malts and hop.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I think it's well executed.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
I think it's a nice beer.
Well, a lot of chocolate,
Yeah.
but here, try this one. It's hoppier.
Do you find more differences between two bottles?
Yeah, we did it in earlier beer.
It extracts more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how can a team make sure that well, there's a consistent flavor with all bottles? That should be the case, of course, right?
It should be the case. Yeah. Work very clean your bottles the same. I don't know if they added some hops later on.
Okay. Well, I think
You can really spoil it if you don't handle the bottle well, or even if you don't take good care when putting on the cap. I mean, everything needs to be clean, everything needs to be sanitized. You only need one cell to ruin your great work.
Oh.
So,
Again, good advice for the teams. Clean your bottles. Clean everything you use.
boring part is the most important.
And clean your glasses also, because even if you make a great beer, if you have a dirty glass, it's going to taste terrible.
actually, you know, Fred is a brewer, but in the end of the day, like a good paint job is always making sure that you sand. It's 80% of your work.
Yep.
Sanitation is brewing.
Yep.
And can people put their beer glasses in the dishwasher, or is that a no-go?
As long as you don't use soap, then it should be quite okay. But preferably, always wash your beer glasses with just cold water, and occasionally use lukewarm water with soda. Wash them out well, then rinse them good with warm water, then cold water, then polish them. But never use soap.
Good advice again.
Yeah.
I think we can move on to the next beer.
For sure.
Leuk hè, met dat verhaaltje.
And this is brewed by also Flash, and they have brewed Heerly de Beerly. And this also is there's also a committee member in this team. And I asked her, what do you think of your beer? And she told us it's drinkable. So it
doesn't forebode well.
The bar is, she doesn't set the bar very high, but maybe it can only get better then. And so it's supposed to be a triple, called Heerly de Beerly. How would you translate this? Probably a variation on Heerly de Peerly. We would say delicious, peerlicious in English for the internationals.
Could be. That could also be a tactic to just set the bar very low for the jury and try to overcompensate and try to shock them.
Yeah,
could be. So for the Mentimeter, we have another question. In this question is question 2 out of 5, which means we have 3 more. I think the question is, when is National Beer Day? So I think we have a few answers. Is it the 3rd of March, 7th of April, or 9th of December? Do you know?
I didn't even know this was a thing before today, so I wouldn't have known.
So this relates back to America.
Ooh, time's up already.
In the time of the prohibition, because the 7th of April is I believe the day or the day after the prohibition ended, and they could drink alcohol again. So that's why this is the National Beer Day.
Yeah, we learned that in between 1920 and 1933, all alcohol production and consumption was all forbidden. So the country survived 13 years without beer and all other alcoholic drinks. So
Yeah. Can't imagine it now.
Yeah. Well, so let's head to the jury, see what they think.
Sure.
Beetje, nou ja, in dit geval niet.
Oh, jury, did you already give it a taste, or are you still smelling?
Serving.
Gave it a taste. And actually, well, the bottle says with the etiquette a triple. It does smell in some way a bit like a triple, but as you can see, yeah, from the color and also the taste, it's way more of a double. So
If there was
that's a bit on the wrong foot.
if the label states that it was a double, it was quite a good one actually. We do taste the how do you say it? The raisins. Not that much of CO2, so that could be improved a little bit more. And indeed, in the aromas, you smell the Belgian yeast from a triple. But for the rest, it's more a double, right?
It's actually
Quite a good one.
apart from the CO2 and the foam, it's actually quite a good beer. But we all agree that it's not really a triple.
So a good double, but less good triple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Indeed.
So has the fermentation time been too short then, or because obviously you need more alcohol for a triple?
No, it's also in the taste and the malts that you use. So there are too many dark-colored malts used in here, and that gives both the darker color. So that's one thing that you see obviously. But secondly, it also gives that raisins taste. Sometimes you can also describe it as salmiak kind of flavors, a bit salty or something.
Yeah.
That's what you typically get with these types of malts. So if either you go for double, you say just it's a double, or
I'm actually wondering if they made a mistake on the label, or
or use less of those malts, and then you get a good triple.
Yeah.
But I like the warmth of the smell, that you smell the yeast esters that come out of it. It's a warm, strong beer. I don't know the alcohol percentage, but I think it's also a bit higher.
Anon, what is the alcohol percentage of your beer?
High enough.
She says.
Dangerous.
No specifics. In between 5 and 10%.
Would you drink this beer in your spare time, or?
if there was more CO2,
Good.
I would drink it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice winter warmer actually.
Yeah, indeed. When you did a long walk outside and then near the fireplace, then it's a good beer.
Okay. Yeah. It's good for our committee member Manon to know.
Thanks for your opinions again.
Thank you. And let's head back to the next beer.
En ja, je moet het wel judgen als een triple, hè?
Yeah.
So this beer is from the BRAUHAUS, and this is actually another committee from SV Live, the Study Association, and this is their own beer brewing commission committee.
So these should be experts.
They should be experts again, and they made coffee beer, so it should have some coffee aroma, some coffee flavors, and they themselves call it a complex fusion of beer and coffee with earthy tones.
Earthy tones, okay.
Kind of tough and complex words, but maybe they make up for it.
Yeah.
Maybe this complex can have different meanings as well. I'm not sure what they exactly mean with it, but
I think something we noticed when we were selling the beer and handing it out to the teams, that it's very dark. So someone called it a dystopian color. I thought that was a nice description of the beer. So dystopian, well, obviously has a little bit of a negative connotation, but well, we'll hear soon what the jury thinks. Let's first go to the Mentimeter. So I think this was supposed to be a question. How many times has the Fermentation Festival been organized? So it's this year's the 4th time. The first time was in 2017. This was part of the TU Delft Lustrum. So when the TU Delft turned 175 years old. So this is the 5th year, but last year was cancelled. This is obviously the first online version. So next year is the Lustrum. We'll see what the next committee has for spectacular events.
Maybe some more special beers even than we have now.
Yeah,
could be. Let's see if the jury is already ready to give some more information on these beers and see if they already tasted it. Let's go.
Well, it's certainly very dark, I'd say.
Yeah, I can see it. It almost seems like coffee.
Yeah.
Perhaps it is coffee.
Perhaps it is
Is
coffee.
it a coffee beer or beer coffee?
A lot of coffee in it.
If you say coffee, it says quack. Or no?
Exactly.
Again, use the wrong labeling maybe. Should have labeled it coffee.
But do you have any complaints about the beer?
Well, there's no complexity at all. It's very one-dimensional coffee.
I see you being very happy about this beer, Dick.
I think it's a little bit too much bitterness from the coffee itself, but the rest I think is okay for me.
Yeah, I actually have to say I kind of like the beer. It's yes, the coffee is definitely there. It delivers what it promises. They probably did indeed use a cold coffee infusion with the beer, simply blended. But I actually kind of like it.
Well, for me also, it does what it promises. But if you make a beer with dead rabbits and the taste of dead rabbits, then it is what it promises. But there is a reason why people do not drink old coffee.
Yeah, there's
It's
also
not
a
a
reason
very
why
pleasant
people
taste. So yes, it's according to what they promise. But
I know what you're saying. But
Yeah.
Does it have some CO2?
It does. I mean, blending it with the coffee, there's also some fats from the coffee beans in there that kills the foam. But actually, you still taste on your tongue quite a lot of bubbles, if you wish.
can I have your glass? Because again,
Again, there could be differences between glasses. So
We all did a home test.
yours is rounder. Mine is.
Yeah, but actually, there's quite a lot of fizz in here as well.
Yeah, the fizz is there, but that one is quite dry. This one is.
What I would like to see more, if to make it a really good beer, is if there was more balanced coffee in the nose, in the aromas.
Yeah, for me, it's lacking a little bit of beer character. There's all coffee. I'm looking for some beer.
It's the leftovers from the Starbucks.
You're no fan. That's
I think generally the Brausie can be proud. I think
differences among the jury.
I have talked to some committee members. I think they will be surprised, but generally positive comments. But a very
and
strong
the
coffee
interesting-
taste.
Again, to have the guts to do something special and out of the ordinary. That's if you don't try, then you never get anywhere.
Scoring points for originality.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well,
Here,
then we'll move on to the final beer of this round.
last beer already.
So this is brewed by the Dome Brewers. And the Dome Brewers are from the Reactor Institute of the TU Delft. So this is actually on the other side of the road from the Faculty of Applied Sciences. So let's first of all hope there's no nuclear stuff.
I surely hope so.
And that ended up in the beer. They've called it Eclipse. Very good timing. I mean, yesterday there was a solar eclipse. I'm not sure whether they referred to that.
They might have planned it.
Yeah?
I'm not sure. And this is actually their 30th brew, so very experienced players here amongst the teams. And this is a black IPA, as we'll see in a minute. Another black beer. And they use it with a cold extraction and then adding this liquid at the end of the boiling phase. I'm not quite sure.
I think the jury should make sense of that for us. But
Yeah. A cold extraction and adding the liquid at the end of the boiling phase.
Extraction of what?
And then I think
They didn't
I'm
mention-
afraid our notes are incomplete because that's
cold brew, coffee cold brew.
No, this is the new one.
the new one, the black IPA.
We're not sure.
They added an extract at the end of the brew, but yeah, exactly.
I
an
guess a
extract
hop infusion, hop tea or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
Well, let's first go to the Mentimeter.
How confident are you about your beer?
Yeah. So.
Do you think you are going to win this Fermentation Festival?
Yeah. So of course this is only for the teams. Probably most of the teams are watching. Do you think you make a chance to win this competition?
I noticed there's a strong competition for me, for my beer.
Yes.
So I'm not too sure. Might be. Never know.
Let's see if we're getting some responses. People are shy, also via the Mentimeter.
They just want to watch. Very. Double R.
Oh, no, they're.
El Tamaño Gigante is good. That's another beer coming up next round, I think. So we have
one team isn't.
Different answers. 10 out of 10, Supreme. People are confident.
Yeah, yeah.
But not everyone can win. So
according to this survey, there should be 10 winners or something.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
And I think there's just a lag of the stream. That's why the answers are coming in a little later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
anyways, keep your hopes up.
Let's go to the jury judgment. We'll remain at table 2 because table 1 is having dinner right now. So we're back again. Again, a very dark beer. Does the taste differ from the previous one? I assume so.
Yes, this is. I like this beer a lot. Very well balanced, very clean. It brings out the hoppiness that you expect in an IPA, and it's black. It also has a little bit of roast malts in it. It's and the label is very well executed. So this is for me a top contender. Well done.
Nice words.
You can see the experience translates into the beer quality.
Plus, to take on to brew a black IPA, that is kind of original, kind of daring. It's one of the most undervalued styles, if you wish.
Yeah.
And I believe, indeed, great head, pretty good execution. Again, there are a lot of professional brewers who will not be able to make this.
Because a black IPA, to me, it doesn't even sound familiar. Is this even? Can you even get this at the supermarket?
Not at the supermarket, and of course it's a contradictio in terminis, because an IPA should be a pale beer of top fermentation, meaning light in color, and a black IPA is a bit of a weird concept. Some brewers have argued that it should be more like an export porter, which is classically a dark beer with a lot of hops to last longer, but it's because it is, a lot of people get the idea that if they see a dark beer that it will be high in alcohol. This is not high in alcohol either. It's
So this could have been a porter as well.
well then a hoppy porter,
Yeah.
more like a Baltic style porter,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, but what I like about it, there's also this fruity tone of red fruits and prunes in there. So it's
an interesting beer.
I'm really fond of the beer.
Yeah. I'm glad this is our last beer because I can drink everything of it.
Yeah,
It's leave the taste in your mouth.
really nice.
Yeah.
Nice job.
I heard a lot of compliments for the team, experienced team. So that's good for them to hear, I think as well, that they brewed some good beer with their experience.
And so we're already halfway. So we think it's time. It's a little early, but it's time for a dinner break. We can imagine the people at home are hungry as well, and probably if you're tasting along, it's wise to fill your stomach with something else than beer as well. So the jury and we will have dinner, but there will still be something to see, of course.
Of course.
What can we
We're having a
expect?
beautiful duo of musicians. We're playing some music. There are Stijn and Imer. Maybe we can walk up to them.
Yeah, sure.
Hi guys. Good afternoon. So Stijn and Imer, aka IDE, and Stijn Rovara.
Yes.
I noticed well. Have you ever brewed your own beer before?
I've had a IPA kit before from Sinterklaas, and yeah, I have to say I really enjoyed it myself to brew it, but also to taste it. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. And what are you going to play for us?
Yeah, a whole bunch of different songs. It's all low key. It's some jazz, some songs you may know. So we're excited to show you guys what we prepared for. So.
The song of his new album. We're playing one song of Stein's new album as well.
Wow.
The Wind song.
Wow, new album. Okay. Well, people at home, stay tuned. We'll be back in a minute and enjoy the music. Guys, have fun. Take it away.
Thanks.
Welcome
Okay.
back.
Welcome back, guys. We hope you enjoyed the musical break and maybe had a nice dinner. Well, I think we'll just continue the program because we're only halfway. So up next is Kekke Biertjes, and they've named their beer 4 Men, 1 Beer. So, as the name implies, it's brewed by 4 men and it's 1 beer.
Simple.
Yeah, plain and simple, and that's how they describe their beer as well. So perhaps a wise choice. The first beer they, I'm not sure whether it's the first, but well, they just decided on brewing a simple beer and trying to well get that
Could
give
be a
that
good
nice
choice.
taste. Yes.
Yeah.
As they say, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Wow, tough words. Tough words. Yeah, they made a blonde beer, and they had kind of tones of citrus. So I'm not sure if we'll see. I see jury already tasting some with some weird faces. But they should have had tones of citrus, grapefruit, and lemon. We'll see if the jury thinks the same. But first of all, we have a Mentimeter to see if we have some more questions for you guys at home. This is question 3 out of 5. And this question is, which beer flavor actually exists? I think we have 2 answers. Either Bultesko beer or earwax beer. Both. I wouldn't taste both.
Really appealing to me.
I'm glad the teams didn't brew this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe we can first go to the... Oh, we're 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's the time to vote. But maybe we can first go to the jury.
1 Bultesko beer. That's the correct answer. So, to the person at home, you made the right decision.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I think we can head to the beer and see if their faces just really said what they think they said.
Yeah.
So we saw you guys laughing while, I think, having a look and maybe tasting the beer. Is that a good sign?
And we sort of disagree.
There are very different opinions about this beer.
Yeah.
We all like the color, right?
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Common ground.
Common ground. And I think furthermore the CO2 is quite well as well, right?
Yeah, not too much foam, but that's it. It's not really bad. I personally think it's really fresh and sparkly, but Vincent is not.
And I agree with the left side of the table.
And you said there's a bitterness in it. There might be the...
It might be personal flavor or anything, but you already smell a lot of interesting flavors, and I think it might be citrusy or...
It's the grapefruit, I think.
It's the grapefruit?
Yeah.
But in the flavor, in the beginning, you taste something fruity, then it goes into sweet, and then there's this spicy bitterness, but
Indeed.
it goes a lot of directions.
I think it might be the white of the skins of the citrus fruits, that kind of bitterness.
Indeed.
Not hop bitterness.
No.
That could be.
But I agree with Vincent that the balance in the beer is quite difficult to understand. It's in the beginning it's quite fresh from the grapefruit, and then directly it's really sweet, and then it goes into the bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be that
what you could call a complex beer?
Yeah.
Could it be that the different bottles taste different? Because at the other table we noticed that 2 bottles actually tasted different from each other.
No, the description sounded kind of the same. So.
Good to know.
Well, it could be possible, but I don't think...
Just a shame that it's in Heineken bottles.
Next time, don't put it in Heineken bottles.
So interesting that the only team that told they would brew a plain and simple beer actually ends up having a lot of big variety in taste.
Yeah. Completely agree. Yeah.
I'm not sure that's what they aim for, but that's what they got.
And I'm curious about the amount of alcohol in it too.
Yeah.
It's quite high, I
Say
think.
that on the label, but it's
quite high.
For
I think it's very
beer that's
dangerous
called
beer.
Simple blonde.
But it's good that you taste the grapefruit actually. That's
Perhaps when teams don't explicitly mention the alcohol content on their label, they don't know it themselves either.
Probably.
Could be.
The description says simple blonde, but this is not one that you can drink all night. You'll probably get very drunk.
I must say I don't think that the label matches with the taste or the description of the beer, but
Not at all.
it's funny, but it's not really related to the beer, right?
Like South Park.
Yeah. Yeah, if you like South Park, yeah.
Okay. Well, good feedback, I think. Let's go back and go to the next beer.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So our next beer is from another live committee, from the Student Association. And this is from the Symposie. And they are the Life Science and Technology Symposium Committee. So they biannually organize a symposium for all life science and technology students and others actually to join.
I think a symposium, it sort of resembles the Fermentation Festival, but with like scientific talks instead of beer.
Instead of beer. This is more fun. No, this will take place next time on the 19th of May 2021. So maybe keep it free already.
In your agenda. The theme will be revealed soon, in a few months. And they call their beer the Sympo Slurp. And they used star anise, so it's certainly an interesting ingredient. The story that's behind it, they say, is they were brainstorming about their ingredients and they thought about star anise and they thought, nice. And that's why they chose it. Well, it's a good reasoning.
Good joke.
And it's supposed to be a wheat beer that's fresh to drink during summer. So today should be a good day to drink it.
It should be.
How about the Mentimeter?
I think we can look at the Mentimeter because we have an interesting fact, which is that these are the amount of teams that have participated in the last 4 years in the Fermentation Festival. So 131 teams, quite a lot, 131 beers. Of course, they didn't all. Some participated multiple times, which we also see today. But kind of fun fact is that so many
at least 131 different beers. That's what we have got over the 4 times that it has been organized.
Yeah. So I think it's time to head over to the jury then.
Yeah. So we're going back to table 1, the same as before.
Yeah.
Who will say it? Is it a lot of criticism?
The first thing is what you see, of course, and I really like the color. It's a little bit golden. It tends to go more to the amber, and it's almost fully transparent with a nice foam layer. So that's something I really like about this beer.
I think the smell is really intense. It has a really anise. I don't know how you call it in English.
Anise, yeah.
Star anise in English. It is really a strong scent.
Yeah, but I don't relate it to a tropical twist, actually, in my point of view.
Licoricey.
Sorry?
More like licorice.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and I combine anise a bit more with winter or a bit more other types of beer.
Yeah. And the CO2 is really well.
Yeah.
It's quite, refreshing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And the taste, Mark?
I personally do not like aniseed, so I'm biased here.
I've exactly
if I have to say something about it, it's well dosed. It's not overpowering. But I just don't like it in beer, but that's my personal
I miss a little bit the body of the beer. Since it's a wheat beer, it might be a little bit...
But that might be because of the high carbonation that you don't notice it. But indeed, I think that the dosage of the starseed fruit is good, because in the flavor it's not too strong, while in the nose it's quite intense.
Really intense, yeah.
And the star anise, is that something you think they've added during the fermentation step, or also that you can create the flavor you can create by choosing a different yeast, for example?
I think they added it.
Is it a common ingredient or is it not used at all normally?
In a winter beer it can be, in a spiced beer.
But this is meant for summer, they claim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I like the experiment, but I like licorice and I like this flavor. So I like the experiment and adding this in a blonde. To be honest.
I see 2 camps again.
I'm over here.
I just don't like star anise.
Yeah.
But that's my personal taste.
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah, thanks for your
Get a difference in jury. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting to see different opinions. Let's go.
Time for the next beer.
So this is brewed by Het Wort, and they have brewed for us a smoked porter. So it's very dark. It should be coffee-ish with also hints of chocolate, so probably used dark malt. And they claim it goes well with smoked food like a barbecue or a grilled ham. And I think their label suggests that their beer is also on Untapped, the app.
Yeah, it's an app in which you rate the craft beers. And during the crate pickup, somebody actually told from the team that he rated over 3,000 beers on this app. So quite experienced, you could say.
He came really desperate, like he wanted to buy 4 beer packages because he had tasted really everything that was available in the supermarket.
Yeah, he needed new flavors.
Yeah.
So this team actually participated earlier as well. So you could say higher expectations. Maybe they're more experienced as well. So that's interesting to see. I think it's time to head over to the many media again and see if it has a fun fact.
Another question.
Another question. The question is, how many liters of beer are consumed on average per person each year? You can answer 38, 54 or 71 liters. What do you think? Kind of a tough question.
I think I know the answer already because we found out during preparation, so I'm not saying anything. Time's up?
Yeah. Ooh. Two people guessed 71 liters.
71.
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
If you calculate it back, that's like 3 beers per 5 days.
Yeah, I thought that was a very quick calculation.
Yeah, quick calculation.
I think it's true.
And that's for every person in the world. So yeah, that's that gives you an impression of how many beers are consumed every day.
Well, let's get back to this smoked porter. This is the first porter I think we tasted today. What are your first thoughts on it?
I think it's a nice beer. I think it's nicely balanced. All the flavors you named are in it. The smokiness, the ham, the chocolate, a bit of coffee. Yeah, I think it's a nice balanced beer.
Yeah. It's actually astonishing. It's also impressive to see the label. I mean, it's almost like a professional label. And please, would you guys have looked at it, because the serving suggested in temperature is 10 to 12 degrees. It's coming straight out of the fridge, and that sort of condenses all the flavors and the aromas. You would have gotten more out of this beer if it was a little bit warmer. But seriously, we said it before, this could be a beer from a professional brewery.
I like it a lot, and I think even if you would serve it at 12 degrees, it might be too overpowering, because a porter and a smoked porter are very strong beers.
Yeah.
So if you serve it too warm, it might be almost too much.
I agree, but I was actually trying to write it down. It's easy to go out of the boundaries with a beer like this. A smoked porter can be overpowering very easily.
It's well balanced.
It's beautifully balanced.
Beautifully balanced.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I like the suggestion with the sandwich roll and ham. That's a very good suggestion. Yeah. And all the, well, a lot of dishes from the barbecue should go well with it. So it's a nice.
I would order a second glass of this.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think it could have just a little bit more CO2, a little bit better head, if we are being very difficult?
A little bit more of a head, but
CO2 enough for you?
yeah.
I mean, in terms of the CO2 in the beer, the fizz,
That's okay.
that is very good.
Yeah, for me it's a little bit on the low side.
And the subtlety in the smokiness, that's fantastically done.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Again,
Excellent.
a lot of
Fort is
confidence.
watching at home.
Yeah.
It's
More
easy to
competition.
overdo, but this is done very well.
Yeah. So actually, when they handed in their beer, they also added some stickers as well. So they're quite professional, I think.
Snickers?
Stickers from their own brewery.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I think they're taking it to the next level.
Snickers in their beer.
Goes well with the Snickers.
It's actually still better than putting stickers in your beer.
So thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, I think they're happy with the compliments. Yeah. So this next one is from a team called the Pasta Forca.
Goed gedaan.
And this beer is called Forchetta di Pasta Speciale. So maybe a link to more Italian pasta. And they actually have a poem on the label, so if you get a chance to maybe look at the label, try to read it. It's quite a fun poem, and they definitely put in some time and effort. So this is actually created by a house called Pasta Forca, as the name suggests. And they had our own brewing barrel named Bière. Fun fact.
So a French name for an Italian named beer. Well, let's hope it tastes as poetic as the poem on the label. They aimed for a fruity wheat beer, but they told us that it turned out to be more refreshing and a little bit more sour than they aimed for. To us, that sounds a little bit like an infection if it turns out
Not sure
sour.
if that's a good sign, no.
So we'll have to find out. It's possible that they didn't clean well enough, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Again, maybe they should label it different if it comes out more sour.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
So first, another Mentimeter.
This one's about the prizes.
Yeah, I think we've told this before.
Yeah.
So there's three prizes. And the first, second, and the third place all get beer coupons from the Koperen Kat.
Yeah.
And the winner?
The winner gets also 600 liters of brewed beer by the Koperen Kat, which will be sold across Delft, across the campus here in X and at the Koperen Kat. So quite a grand prize and the fame that you're getting. Yeah. On top of the 20 craft beers that you're getting from Koperen Kat. So you're going to win the prize. You want to win the prize.
Well, let's head over to the jury to see what they think.
Yeah.
So you're tasting the Forchetta di Pasta Speciale. You think it goes well with the pasta, or?
No, no, actually
What's
not.
it taste like?
Well, in the description, it's written that it's with subtle sour, I think, right?
Yep. Subtle
Well,
sour tone.
It's just sour. As well in the aromas as in the taste. But we were just discussing if it had more CO2, it would be a really good sour beer.
Yeah, the taste is not bad. It's not too sour.
No, it's actually really good. Right?
Yeah, we were wondering how this is made. If they made a kettle sour or not, which is quite a not so easy technique to do. I think it's ended more sour than what the description says. It says subtle sour tones. It's quite sour.
As we said, they tried to aim for a different type of beer. And they got kind of a soury beer. So
it wasn't intended.
It wasn't really intended, as they mentioned.
Really?
Yeah, we don't relate it to a fruity wheat beer, actually.
Yeah.
Not at all. So if you relate it to the label or to the name, it's not really the best combination. Mm-hmm. But the beer on itself, if it had more CO2, it would be really good.
Yeah.
I think that's our conclusion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the flavors, you also notice those typical sour kind of beers. They have this wild aroma. Yeah, it's difficult to describe, but it fits the description of a true sour ale, or a geuze, or
Yeah. For a warm day, it's really good. Yeah.
So generally during brewing, you only want a single culture to do the fermentation, right? But can beers also be good if there's multiple strains?
Definitely.
Yeah, but it's really challenging to balance that, because it's just natural selection which can grow faster on the given resources. So
once you've brewed a beer that was infected but you kind of liked it, like this one, is there a way to determine what strains were infected?
Not really.
I think we all studied life science and technology, right?
you plate them on agar plates, and you pick them all up and you send them to a lab, and then they can tell you what kind of strain it is.
That's what these people should do.
If it's really successful, then they can try to do that. Perhaps they found their own wild strain, or
We're really interested how they make it, right?
My guess is it's lactic acid bacteria that got into the beer. That's also how you make a sour.
Yeah, indeed.
The taste is quite similar.
But how could that happen?
Not washing your hands or
Yeah, okay. So
eating yogurt next to your beer.
So their mistake made actually quite good beer, or decent beer.
A little too plain.
Yeah, well, it's a good sour, but it was not intended as a sour. I understand. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks again for your judgment. Let's move on.
vind ik dus wel moeilijk om te beoordelen.
Again, we see that quite so many teams label their beer
Het is
wrong,
wel echt azijnzuur.
or
Het is niet
quite
melkzuur.
intended it differently. So that's also interesting to note.
And this next beer, it's from Huizen Spatelaar, so it's also a student house in Delft. I know actually that this is brewed by SV Life's Prezes, so the president of the study association. So it should be good. The president should lead by example. And she has told me that her house has been very enthusiastic and engaged with the brewing process, the first time they brewed. So, well, let's see what it is. It's supposed to be a Dunkelweizen beer. What is a Dunkelweizen?
Yeah, so Dunkelweizen is German for dark wheat beer. So that's what they intended to create. And it's used roasted malt, I believe, with hints of caramel. So it should be kind of a more darker beer that we're going to see, which is
interesting
fun to see. Again, a darker beer. So I think we can head to the Mentimeter and then find out what it has in store. It's a fact, or did you know? Usually the festival is done by walking around with stands. Yeah. So maybe a fun fact for people at home, because not everyone has been to the Fermentation Festival 2 years ago. Usually it's done at X with different stands and food trucks, music, but obviously it couldn't go through that way, so now we're doing the live stream like this.
Yeah, so normally it's really sort of a festival on which you can walk around, and the jury is really more behind the scenes determining, well, their judgment and the top 3. So now this year is at least interesting that you can really taste along with the jury members and see what, well, experts, how they determine if they like a beer or not. So at least that makes this that's an advantage of this year's online edition.
Yeah.
Of course, we hope next year to have a physical event again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's head over to the jury.
Yes.
So it's supposed to be a Dunkelweizen beer, which you recognize. Do you recognize any tastes? No?
I see some nodding.
This is again a duck that says oink. It's very unfortunate. Probably everything that could go wrong did go wrong. It's an infection, probably some yeast issues as well, some autolysis. It smells a little bit like, you called it uncleaned beer tap lines. Sewer could be a next good one. Yeah, it has a very unpleasant, astringent, sour taste. The concept is nice. Dunkelweizen is a great beer style, but unfortunately, well, it's not near. Don't give up your day job.
And it's
the first time.
It's not Dunkel.
No, exactly.
It's supposed to be much darker than it is right now.
Yeah.
It should be much darker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it to the dark side, baby.
Yeah. How about the
I'm
label
very
design?
sorry for your chairman, but
Maybe about the label. How do you like that?
Yeah.
What does it say? What does it say?
It basically repeats what you guys just read out. Pretty unfortunate. Some technical details are printed that small that I can't even read it.
with your glasses on.
Yes, even with my glasses on, I can't make it out. But it's nice. I mean, best of. It's a nice pun. It's a very amicable label, and that basically expresses what I like so much about beer. It brings people together. It always sparks a conversation. It's friendly. The label is a good label.
It's some positive notes.
Hopefully she can take some compliment in that.
Yeah.
And her team.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I think we can go to the next one.
Yeah. This one is Dubbele Kruis. And this is an old Delft IPA, is what they call it. So an Indian Pale Ale again. And it's brewed in the, well, as the name mentioned, in the Oude Delft, which is the city center. And they actually have the city center or the viaducts placed in their label, which is kind of fun.
And the beer they aimed for should be fresh and sour. And well, they gave their own twist to the standard fruity or bitter IPA. So this it's supposed to be a little bit more sour. At least that's what they claim. Well, so let's see if there's a question.
Yeah, you've seen the label. What do you think of the label? Do you like it? Do you think it's better than others? Let's see if we get some response from the audience again.
Bad.
Ooh, bad. Maybe they compare it to others, and in that way, it's not as good as others. Could be, could be. We had 2 responses with bad. Oof. Let's see what the jury thinks of the label, and maybe also about
We'll
the
get more
taste.
responses
Yeah,
soon.
yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
Is it fresh and sour?
Sorry, but no, it's really bad.
Too fresh and sour.
No,
No, not fresh and sour at all.
Oh.
it has a really cheesy aftertaste. So that,
Cheesy.
yeah, literally, you should taste it actually. It's so we think it's infected, and
Not
this,
sure, actually.
the CO2 is not that well. We don't like the label at all. So
But the color,
but the color is
of the beer
okay.
is good.
Compliment for each team.
Yeah,
that-
I'm really sorry, but it's not. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not so good.
I have the feeling, but I'm not really sure that somewhere along the brewing process it might have gotten infected. So there might be a good potential for the beer, but it has an a flavor which, compared to the previous one that we tasted, there's a sourness which comes familiar to the acidic acid, so that belongs there. But this sourness, there are also some other off flavors, and in combination, that most of the time means it's an infection.
Back to back, an infected beer.
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
Maybe next one is better. I think we head back. And we had some more responses, I saw, and
Het is hartstikke niks.
people at home I kind of agreed with the jury of the label. I saw 8 people filled in as bad, so
Was there a meh as well? Or?
yeah, it was 1 meh as well. So kind of better. Sorry to the team at home. Maybe try next year again. So this is the next team again. It's gevulde koek, as we call it in Dutch. And they have a beer called Wappie, which relates to Corona and the Corona Wappies that are going around right now. And they made a blonde beer. So that's gevulde koek.
Yeah, a blonde beer, they don't really give any specifics on what it contains, but they do give any specifics on what it does not contain. So it does not contain mRNA or microchips. So I think that's very reassuring. It's the only team yet that has explicitly told us it doesn't contain microchips. So
Yeah, maybe the others do.
yeah, we don't know.
I think it's meant for the Wappies then, if it explicitly says that it doesn't contain microchips. Yeah,
So everyone can trust this beer.
yeah, yeah.
Well, let's see what the Mentimeter has to tell us.
Again, another question about winning and about your own beer.
But now we're further into the competition,
Yeah.
so we've
Maybe
heard
they've
more
seen the
feedback.
competition. Yeah. Do you think you can win this year's edition of Fermentation Festival? I see 5 people answering very confident.
I think that's the average grade.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Generally, people do think they can win.
They're still confident. Still confident. After these beers, after this round, they're still confident. So
But maybe the people who don't think they can win already gave up and went on to drink something else.
could be. Yeah. Okay. So overall, people are confident then.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Well, let's hear what the jury thinks.
Yeah. What do you think?
You're exchanging the beers. Is there any difference between?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it is.
Nou, inderdaad.
World of differences.
Ja.
What terms?
Well, this year would serve as a wappie, I think, to kill your mother-in-law. That's. And I see you with happy faces, so there's.
Yeah, this is not bad.
I think it's a good beer. Yeah.
Can we have another bottle?
It's a
Yeah,
nice blonde.
I think we can ask the bar for another bottle.
Do we have another bottle of gevulde koek wappie?
Nee, maar we have really 2 different bottles here, where one is
This
totally
beer,
wrong.
this beer is technically dead.
Yeah.
It ceased to be. It's
Well, this
an
is-
ex-beer.
Yeah.
Your beer is more darker, I think. Also.
But this is actually quite pleasant. It's
And it might be because it's so dark that the crown cap in this case didn't really close, so it got oxidated. That's because everything, all life has gone from it.
Does it
So I
resemble
leave
a
it to
blonde
you,
beer?
guys.
This bottle is okay. I think it's a good blonde. The color is really nice. It's a clean beer. Yeah, I think it's
It's also remarkably clear. I mean, it's not crystal clear like a beer from a big brewery would be close filtered and it would be totally clear to see through. It has a very nice hue, actually. And in terms of the smell, the ester aroma that comes out of it, this is what a blonde should be. It's actually coming close to like a mainstream Leffe blonde, African blonde, that kind of style.
We actually have another bottle, so we can see if that's a good bottle or.
You can already see the crown cap. It wasn't clamped on, so it looks like they just put the bottle, the thing on like this here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's just open.
Yeah.
But you can already see it. Yeah, that's probably going to be.
Here, I'll open the bottle for you.
Yeah,
that doesn't
that's
work.
where they went wrong then. Yeah.
So the equipment is very important as well. If you don't have a good.
Well, yeah, close your bottle before you bring it away. But
It's a world of difference.
I like the name.
So probably we were very lucky with the beer we had, because this is actually a pretty good beer.
We'll get you for this.
I didn't put the cap on.
You can have
We'll get them for this.
you can have a sip.
I'd love to have a sip too.
Je hebt een nieuwe gekregen, hè?
Ja, but
Maar probeer deze nou eens even, die komt uit ons flesje.
Better?
close the bottle. Yeah, the bottle wasn't closed.
Completely other beer.
Yeah.
There's no CO2 in this one, not at all.
So again, you can.
This is beer.
Yeah.
And a pretty good beer, actually.
So close the bottle well.
So
Well, that's
we will rate the one that was properly closed
Okay.
to give them some leeway.
That's lenient
The
for the
recipe
teams.
and the process is probably fine.
Success is in the details, eh?
And I like
Microchips
the
presents.
name, by the way. Wappie is just a
Yeah.
beer. That's very original.
Smart lesson for all the teams at home. Maybe for next time.
Close your bottles.
Yeah. Well, I think this was the last team already for this round. So it's time we move to a break again. And what's the program for this break?
Yeah, so we thought it would be interesting, as of course this is organized by the Study Association, to give you more of a scientific background on beer brewing. Because in fact, so the LST program focuses on the living cell, and the yeast is a common research theme in that context, because yeast is in fact a very good cell factory for a lot of biotech processes. So it has been very well studied, and it's still the subject of many research lines. So we'll switch to someone who does her PhD about beer brewing yeast. So yeah, I think let's dive into the TU Delft lab to see what she has to tell us about the scientific background of beer. PhD researcher at the Faculty of Applied Sciences of the TU Delft. And your research involves beer brewing yeast.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little more about what it is exactly that you do?
Yeah, so indeed my PhD revolves around brewing yeast, and what I'm trying to do at the moment is I'm trying to optimize these brewing yeast. For example, that they produce nice flavors, they consume all the sugars present in the medium to ethanol, and it looks a bit like this. So here you see a yeast that actually already has consumed quite a lot of sugars. That's actually a good feature for yeast.
How can you see that?
The culture is pretty dense, so you see that's not a clear solution anymore, and yeah, that makes that the yeast grows and it starts producing ethanol at the same time.
Okay. And so you mentioned one way to optimize these brewing strains is to make them convert the sugars to ethanol, so that's alcohol better. But how do you make a better yeast?
So there's a lot of important aspects for brewing yeast that brewers that are brewing the beer are very interested in. So for example, you don't want to have a really sweet beer, so all the sugars should be converted. So that's for example one thing. So you can take, for example, a yeast that is very good at consuming sugars, take that piece of DNA and put it into a brewing yeast. That makes it consume the sugars a lot better.
So via genetic engineering?
Yes, so currently I'm working on genetic engineering, but at the moment that's not allowed to produce beer with GMO strains, so genetically modified strains in the Netherlands. But the research is really interesting.
But is it allowed in other parts of the world?
Yeah, so currently if you want to brew with a GMO strain, you can go to America or Mexico, and actually there's already a beer on the market. It's called the crispy beer that is being produced with these GMO yeast.
Cool. Okay. Well, so hopefully legislation will change here as well. But otherwise, if a beer is brewed with your yeast, then we'd have to go to the US.
Yeah. So then we ship this baby to the States, and then hopefully we can brew a nice beer with the best characteristics there.
Okay. Well, Nicole, thanks for your time, and I think it's nice that people maybe now appreciate more all the science that actually is behind the glass of beer they consume from time to time.
Yeah,
so
and enjoy your beers.
Cheers. Okay, welcome back, guys. We hope you enjoyed the interview. And hopefully you appreciate more the science that's behind beer. We also hope that you realize how important biotechnology is. It has been crucial in developing the vaccines for corona, and it's also crucial for producing beer. So really two of the most important things in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll move on to the final round, so the final 7 beers. And we'll start off with Symbiose. Symbiotic beer maybe. It's brewed by another committee, by one of SV Life's committees. So this is the Alkali. We actually know these guys, and 2 of our current committee members also brewed this beer. They themselves don't think it will be very impressive, and they also told us we should look at it while it unpops, because it may be spectacular. So I think we're doing it right now, and we can take a look.
Walk around. As we see, it's kind of...
So it's more like champagne.
Another beer.
Hey!
That's also fun. Yeah. So that doesn't say too many good things about the beer, I think.
Thanks for the demonstration.
I think we need 4 beers for 1 glass.
Enough can still come out. So they recommend to drink it with a shot of tequila.
Kind of interesting.
So, yeah.
If the tequila tastes better than the beer itself, you know.
That's very promising. But we don't have tequila for the jury, if you were...
Don't worry. So this is supposed to be more of a fruity and blonde beer. And they called it Parasites, which is an interesting name. Yeah. So maybe head back to the Mentimeter and see what we have there. So another interesting beer. Yeah. Might be affected with such overflowing.
It smells like salami, one of the team members commented. So prepare for the worst. First the Mentimeter, then the jury. So let's see.
Only 5 more beers. So this one might not be too good, but only 5 more beers left after this, and then the winner gets selected.
So we've already tasted 21.
Yeah.
Hopefully the jury can still some sense of what's good and what's not.
Yeah.
Let's see what the jury thinks of Symbiose.
Yeah. I've seen him already smelling.
Well, it was a spectacular presentation.
Was it as bad as it looks?
We just got it.
We're still tasting.
Okay. But the foam is really... the foam is really good.
So you've got that going on, which is nice.
Have you tasted it already?
What does it smell like?
Beer is quite cloudy, but that's probably because of the
the yeast
speed it came out with. It probably took some stuff off the bottom.
It doesn't have a really strong smell.
No, not a strong smell.
It tastes quite plain, not too eccentric.
A little bit citric at the end. No. To be honest, I quite like it.
Oh.
Yeah, I was expecting something really different.
Yeah, really bad, but...
Does it smell like salami?
Why did you
No.
did you drop a salami?
The member mentioned it smelled like salami.
Oh no.
You don't have to say sweet things for them; they can handle.
No. We were.
I do notice
This
that
has some stuff floating in it.
your glasses, I notice it, is a bit darker than ours.
We've got more residue than you
Could
have.
be.
Yeah.
I think if I have to say something about smell and taste, it's a bit greenish, plant-like,
Oh.
Estelite or
appley. Yeah, that
Flux in the beer, is that the yeast or?
yeah, that's probably the yeast that came from the bottom, from the
But in the description,
explosive opening.
it's written as it is. It should be a blonde beer, which is definitely not the case, to be honest.
What type
I do
of beer
like
is it
it.
right now, you think?
What do you think?
it's quite dry, light colored. It almost even would go to a lager perhaps, or an Indian pale lager. But that's my opinion. Very citrusy. Very fresh beer. I can imagine the way this described it, where you could drink it in the sun, would be great outdoors.
Every time you open a bottle, it's the start of a party.
Yeah.
Nice, boss. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good feature to have, maybe.
Yeah, they achieved the citrus taste.
Yeah.
It's fresh.
I'm also curious about the alcohol percentage. I think there's not so much alcohol in it.
I think it's higher than you expected because the CO2 is quite high as well.
Yeah.
Covers it a bit.
So something happened.
Okay, well.
Thanks for your comments again.
Yeah.
I think it's time to move on.
Ja, I think so too.
Ja, denk je dat er redelijk wat alcohol in zit?
Ik denk dat het
Next
hoger is dan je
beer.
denkt.
It's the fantastic yeast and where to find them.
It's a long team name. These are also familiar with the Fermentation Festival, and 2 years ago they even won the audience prize. So not the jury prize, but the audience prize. We don't have an audience prize this year, obviously, because we cannot check whether you've really tasted the beer. It's really a little bit sensitive to fraud. And they have named their beer the First Shot.
Yeah, so also relating to Corona again. And a fun fact that they just mentioned is that their mom and dad are on the label and animated kind of in a way. So fun fact. I think they do have a nice label. It's relating to kind of more of Corona regulations. So maybe they work for the government, who knows. And it is more of an amber beer with elderberry juice.
So Vlierbessen.
Yeah, Vlierbessen. So
interesting.
Interesting flavors. Yeah, let's head to the Mentimeter and see if it has any questions. Did you know, this year there are multiple Corona-related beers. Again, this is also Corona-related beer. We had the Whoppy with no microchips. We have the First Shot we have right now, and we're also having an immunity boost coming up, also this round. So. Stay tuned and you'll see.
Not sure. So it's the First Shot. I'm not sure. Maybe we should inject it in the arm.
No.
Maybe it's like a Corona medicine.
Alcohol clears the Corona.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sort of like clean up.
Yeah. Let's not try that.
Don't try it at home. Okay. Well, let's head over to the jury. Is this a fantastic yeast that has been used?
Long thought.
I like the label.
The label is beautiful. It's really good label.
A lot of humor in it.
For an amber, I think it's really too dark by color.
Could also be if they've put too much juice in it that it colored too much, but there's a lack of foam.
It's very sweet.
It's very sour.
Sour?
Yeah, the sourness I don't agree on.
I think you have a different bottle again. This one is not.
No,
this one is not really sour.
I have the same bottle as you.
Is yours sour or sweet?
No, sweet. Yeah, more sweet than sour. A sour in the aftertaste, perhaps a bit.
It's a little bit more sour, but it's ours has less CO2. So again, the bottling is, I guess, key. If you have fantastic yeast and where to find them, and you're part of the study that you're doing, I would expect you to use a very original yeast. Maybe go outside and harvest your own yeast. I mean, if you make this name, which is quite funny, then do something with it.
Yeah,
go
in
and
the
catch
backyard,
this fantastic yeast. That will be quite something. Maybe a challenge for next time.
So is this something that other hobby brewers do? They collect their own yeast from the environment?
You can do, yeah, you can do, and especially if you're a student here in Delft, you know how to propagate your yeast. You put them on a agar with a little alcohol, so you get rid of all the yeast that don't like alcohol because.
There's a brewer in Nijmegen, Nevel, that harvests its own yeast and cultivates it, keeps it alive, like sourdough. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I believe even in Leiden.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leidse Brouwers, Jan Willem Fucking.
And Oedipus has done that. They caught one at the artist.
I did a
in the early
wild
days.
beer.
In the early days.
No, but also.
So does it often give more of a wild taste as well, or is it?
Well, it's of course very difficult because you get all kind of funky flavors. These yeast that you use for beer brewing, they have been really tested to give a flavor that you like. So, if you want to do that for next year, you better start tomorrow, maybe tonight. Go out, catch some yeast.
And there's a big trend going on the grape ales, Henry. That's a crossover between beer and wine or beer and grapes. And if you harvest grapes and you also have yeast on the grapes that make the wine, that also help to make the beer. So you have very interesting crossovers. They are coming on the markets more and more. So I think you will meet the grape ales sooner than you think.
I haven't heard of it yet, the mixture between wine and beer, so that's an interesting concept, yeah. For sure.
Is the label visible for everybody at home or not? Because it's quite brilliant.
I think the camera can zoom in, yes. So it's part of the vaccination campaign. They recommend getting a second shot as well.
Great marketing.
Oh, I think we can move on. So we're really entering the final...
the final beers.
Final beers.
Yeah.
This one is brewed by BREWFESSORS. They call it Deja Brew, so perhaps they have brewed it earlier, and that's in that case it should be good. And this is a double Indian Pale Ale. I think also something we haven't seen before today.
No.
And they say the alcohol percentage is 7.5%, so relatively high.
Compared to the others today, yes. And they kind of also have a poetic description, because their description says, when poured into a glass, its hazy golden color gives the impression of a fine amber stone in your hand, while small and uniform bubbles spurt from the bottom up. Maybe poetic
put as much effort in the beer as in the text, then
yeah, it could be good.
We have a lot to expect.
Yeah, so they mentioned that it takes you to kind of a dreamy countryside. So they have a lot of big poetic words. Maybe their beer is as good. We can see if it lives up to it. Yeah. But first, let's head to the Mentimeter, which is the last question, question 5 out of 5. And the question is, we can already say it by now for you to get less delay. Where does Pils come from? So we have 3 answers, or 3 possible answers. We have the Czech Republic, England, and Germany. So, interesting name. It's drunk a lot, Pilsner.
Did you know it before preparing this quiz?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Czech Republic.
100% is wrong.
Yeah. So it comes from a small town, a city called Pilsner. That's why Pilsen. Sorry. So that's why it's called Pils or Pilsner. Yeah.
Well, now you know. So let's move to the jury.
What do you think?
Does this taste like a double Indian Pale Ale? What exactly is that?
Well, technically a double Indian Pale Ale is an IPA, but then twice as strong. Simply said. What do we think of this? It's really bitter. Resiny, piney bitter.
The bitterness is not supposed to double.
It's supposed to be bitter, of course, but I think this is 99% bitter and 1% aroma, but that's my opinion. It's not my.
Would there be people that like this, and would there be a market for very bitter beers?
Probably, but I'm not sure if this is a double IPA or not.
Yeah, so with an IPA you might expect it to have not only fruity aroma, so you smell the hops. There are some fruity hops. I smelled peaches in it. I don't know if you also recognize that. But in the flavor, indeed, it's more piney and resiny. And also not very strong. It was more sweet to me than really hoppy flavors.
Yeah, we also guess it's a bit more than 7% alcohol.
Definitely. We do like the label and the name of the beer. It's quite original.
And this was the first beer that also, at least that's what I noticed, had larger foam bubbles compared to other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing?
Nope.
Not necessarily. Big bubbles means that it's not stable because it pops easily. But,
could be a sign of a really warm fermentation. So a lot of higher alcohols are formed in the beer, and they give a more coarse foam. So it might have gotten a bit hot while fermenting.
Is the color supposed to be like this?
Should be a little bit darker. Yeah.
Okay. So for next time.
Good feedback.
Yeah, for
Thanks,
sure.
guys.
It's back.
So next up, Teddy Beer Brewing Corporation, I think. And these have been the winners of the Fermentation Festival. I think 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. So they won the grand prize. They have this time made a beer for the hard-working student to relieve some stress in these difficult Corona times. And the label mentions they have brewed an IPL. So this is an Indian Pale Lager, which means lager means that it's fermented at a lower temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear another loud pop from the bar, so it sounds promising. And this teddy beer, this is, as the label suggests, is kind of refreshing and tropical. At least that's what it should be. So yeah, that's about the beer. And let's head to the menu meter again and see what it said. Right. So on your Instagram, you can follow our Instagram, Fermentation Festival. You can also post your experience on Instagram, and we might repost it in our story. So we're interested in what you're doing right now and how you're tasting. So show us.
Yeah. So our Instagram is fermentation_festival. If you want to be spammed each year when the festival is approaching, then you should definitely check us out.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's our advice. Time to go to the jury.
Yeah. Well, wrong jury again?
This time, yes.
I think you want to be here.
Yeah, we do. What do you think? Does it live up to expectation of the previous winner?
Well, first of all, it's not Indian Pale Ale or Indian Pale Lager, it's India Pale Ale or India Pale Lager. It's not brewed by or for Indians. It's relation to India. It's very brave that you try and brew an India Pale Lager, because lager, it's not just about the temperature, it's also a completely different yeast than the top fermenting yeasts that we've been drinking so far. It's pretty difficult to brew that. It should be a very clean beer. And then with the IPL ID, you expect a lot of hops and a lot of tropical fruits and stuff like that. Unfortunately, something went wrong in the brewing process.
I think they forgot the hops.
That's one, but also we all find there's a mistake with diacetyl.
Yeah.
As a brewer, you can explain.
Yeah, it's a bodily like taste. If you give it a longer rest at the same temperature as you ferment it, or a little bit lower temperature, then you get rid of the diacetyl, the bodily taste.
So it's all about time and rest.
Yeah. Don't you also think that the final attenuation is still very high for beer? So
really sweet.
Yeah.
It needs more time. It can be it can be better.
Yeah.
With the same recipe.
They had a rush or something.
Yeah.
Maybe to enter the festival.
Yeah.
But again, trying to brew this style of beer, it's really difficult to do this in a non-industrial environment.
And
So
it's very clear.
yeah, it's remarkably clear.
And a nice color.
Well, it's a daredevil choice to do.
Yeah, it is. But they took not enough time.
It's almost contradictory to get it this clear.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard to brew with a bottom fermenting yeast?
Because you need, particularly for the fermentation, you need a constant low temperature environment. Plus, when it's a lager, you use a yeast that creates very few esters or aromas, so you really have nothing to hide behind. Every mistake you make in the process will shine, and will shine out pretty brightly. So you need to be almost an autistic person to do this right, because you can't make any mistake. You'll taste it. We just did.
But then if you use hops like India Pale Lager, so you have a lot of hops. That's one of the reasons people used spices and hops. It's to a little bit mask possible off flavors, but here the hop is missing. So that boggles my mind a little bit. It's India Pale Lager, but where's the hop? It's like ordering a steak and getting a beet hamburger. Where's the
Which
beef?
has happened to you.
Well, I ordered a beet hamburger.
I would like it was a risky choice of them to go for an IPL. So, yeah.
The
Good enough.
fermentation should be very cold. So you need equipment to do it.
It's
You can't do
equipment, but
it.
also time.
You can't do it in your home or in your student kitchen, I think.
Well, you can.
You can?
Yeah.
You can. Okay.
And I think if you won before, you should go for the easy wins. So that's what I applaud. You've been a winner, so you go to the next level.
Yeah.
A lot
Kudos
of
for them.
comments, I think, to work on for this team.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah. One of the final beers, which is the next beer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Cervecería de Pisa.
Cervecería de Pisa, yes.
I think you pronounce it better
I think
than
it's
me.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Pisa is in Italy, of course, but so it means we googled a brewery in Pisa or from Pisa, and it's meant to boost immunity. They call their beer the Immunity Boost, and this is a ginger beer, so also something new. And they use strong and bodied malts to create this beer.
Yeah. I'm very curious if it really boosts your immunity. We might know, we might not. In this beer, yeast was a very dominant ingredient. And we might see soon that it has a big layer on the bottom. So that doesn't really make it appealing.
Really, in the bottles, we really noticed more than a centimeter of yeast.
Maybe that's why it boosts your immunity. It could be. So let's head back to the Manymeter again for one of the last few times. And we have another fact, which is that moderate consumption of alcohol is associated with lower rates of cardiovascular disease. So drink moderately.
Moderate, of course, is a subjective term, right?
Yeah, I guess. Sure. I think we can head over to the beers and see if it really boosts your immunity.
Yeah, let's go.
What do you think of the immunity booster?
Well, we were quite impressed. You smell it immediately. It's really strong. It's an expressive beer. But I personally also like the taste. We had also quite of a difference in opinion at the table.
Actually,
again.
we like it, and Vincent doesn't.
With a small majority difference, yeah.
But it's a really good beer, actually. It's you really taste the ginger.
Refreshing, spicy.
Yeah, we think in the summer, you literally said I would drink half a liter.
Yeah, we made a little bit of a joke. There's quite a lot of yeast in the bottle. Yeah. So we said we could easily drink a half a liter on a nice summer's day. Well, perhaps 0.4 and leave the rest in the glass.
Leave the yeast in a bottle.
Should they have filtered it better to leave out the yeast?
I think it should have been left to drop a little bit more, so it got more clear, and then and then filter from above.
But the taste is really good.
Yeah, really fresh. Vincent doesn't really like
Why didn't
ginger.
you?
I thought that the beer it was very refreshing, but it became so much ginger that it became spicy, and you did not taste the beer component in it anymore. So to me, it became more kind of a ginger ale than a ginger beer. But that's a personal preference.
That's true.
You taste the alcohol?
We had a difficulty in assuming the alcohol percentage.
Yeah.
So not really.
Because you estimate very low alcohol percentage?
Yeah, but it could
Not
be
much, I guess. But
could be tricky.
The spiciness from the ginger sort
It's
of matches
covering it.
with the
I'd
sharpness
say.
of the alcohol, so it's really hard to tell what the percentage is. But
And we also like the name, right? It's
yeah,
you really
And it's
relate it to
also-
ginger.
It's coherent to the taste and to the smell, so that's also good.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
good beer.
It's interesting discussions at this table.
Absolutely.
Disagreements, but that's good.
It's good for the teams to know both sides of it. Yeah.
Yeah, diversity. That's good. That's good, guys. That's good.
I think this is the last beer.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's head back.
Oh ja, voor ons wel. Ja.
Ons laatste bier.
Oh, nou, hou deze even hoor.
Final beer, guys.
Yeah. So this is number 26. I hope the jury still manages. And this is brewed by Shakespeare's, also SV Life Committee, again the Alkali. And they have brewed a combination of Mexican cerveza and citric IPA. And this is also advised, well, not to drink with tequila, but tequila was in fact added to it. So it may have well boosted the alcohol percentage. Yeah, for the rest.
Fun fact. Yeah, they used just normal Pilsner malt and they added a Sapphire hop strain. So I'm not quite sure what it is, or it sounds fancy at least. So maybe the jury knows more about it soon. And the name actually implies that you should spice the beer, shake spice, which is kind of
We
chugging
expect
it.
the team members to do this at home.
Yeah. So back at home. So yeah, good luck to the team with the jury tasting. But first, let's head to the Mentimeter and see what it says. Because I think we have a fun quote for you from actually Shakespeare itself, so kind of relating to the beer, who says, "I would give all of my fame for a pot of ale and safety." Fun to know he was a beer.
A man doesn't need a lot to be happy.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. I think we can go to the jury.
Yeah, let's see the final beer. So we've arrived at the final beer. They've added tequila to the beer. What does it do?
Smells good.
I think it's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice
It's an interesting combination.
Yeah, it's a nice combination. I think it's a good beer actually. It's a nice head, nice color, nice carbonation.
Is there a danger with adding tequila, for instance, with adding too much too soon, or very fast, or?
Well, you should do it at the end because you might kill your yeast.
Yeah.
Like if you suddenly spike up your alcohol.
I think it's added in the CCT.
Yeah.
So also for Corona and Desperados, this is common, right? Or this is part of the recipe, or isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Well, no.
No,
They
just
don't use
flavor,
tequila, they just
flavoring.
use flavorings and aromas. I actually
Just
believe...
by tuning the yeast, you mean?
Sorry?
By tuning the yeast.
No, they simply brew the beer, but they don't actually add tequila into the beer. They just use aromas and flavorings to create the idea of tequila flavor. Here actual tequila is being used, and I think it's a little bit too much. I think it's a little bit overpowering, but the combination, as you said, it's pretty nice, and it was a beautiful head on the beer.
And I also like the bright color.
Yeah.
And too much. It's a Mexican beer. It's it kind of give me my sombrero and a guitar, and I will put them aside and drink the beer instead. No, and I think it's well attenuated. It's a very nice experiment.
Yeah.
The label?
The label is, okay, you can debate on whether you want to be using
Very subtle.
penis-like
Very subtle.
images these days. I would prefer to tune down a little bit on that, but I guess the biggest compliment for this beer is that it's a great way to end this session.
Yeah,
it's good to hear.
Very nice beer to end with.
Lots of CO2. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Your colleagues don't have to take this away from me because I'll drink it.
Yeah, leave on a nice tone. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, there was the final beer.
Cheers.
We head back.
I think we'll want to taste it as well because we're heading into the next break. Final break.
Yeah, so we've tasted all 26 beers, and we've had it all. We have had infected beers, we had good beers, dark beers, light beers. So it was an interesting tasting session, and the jury, of course, has tasted half the beers, and they will select the top 2 per table. So in the end, we have a top 4, and these final 4 will again after the break and during the break be tasted by the jury, and they will decide on the top 3.
So the most exciting part is yet to come. So we'll have a 15 minutes break, and in these 15 minutes you will get to know a few jury members a little better. We have 2 clips, one from Vincent Das and one from Janneke, who will explain something about their work and how to brew beer. And yeah, meanwhile the jury will debate on the top 4 and eventually the top 1, obviously. Let's hope they remain on friendly terms. And then after the 2 clips, we'll have a small musical session again. So our favorite music duo will play a few songs. And well, we'll see you in about 15 minutes. So
stay tuned. You might win a prize. Who knows?
Goedemiddag, mijn naam is Vincent Das van Medes Bierbrouwerij. En vandaag ga ik bier brouwen. Het is 12:30. Dus het eerste wat ik ga doen is de zolder een beetje opruimen. Zorg ervoor dat alles een beetje klaar ligt, zodat wij kunnen gaan beginnen. Het allerbelangrijkste is dat we de 4 basisingrediënten van bier hebben. We beginnen hier zo met mout. Ze hebben wat verschillende soorten mout. Vandaag gaan we een Russian Imperial Stout maken. Dus er zitten best wel wat donkerkleurige mouten. Waaronder chocolademout, zwarte mout en nog wat karamelmouten die je hier zo ziet. En de grote basis is pale ale mout. Het tweede ingrediënt dat we gaan gebruiken is gist. Ik moet nog even kijken welke gist ik wil gaan kiezen. Dit zijn poedervormen van gist. En ik zal gaan voor een best wel hoog alcohol bier. Dus we zullen moeten zoeken voor een gist die dat ook aan kan. En dan hebben we hop. We gaan gebruik maken van 2 soorten hop. De basis is een Engelse, want het is een Engelse stijl bier. Dus ik wil Bramling Cross gaan gebruiken. En ik wil hem nog een beetje een speciale geur nog meegeven en aroma. Dus we gaan nog wat late hopgiften doen met Barbarouge. De Braumeister. Dit is een maisketel die geautomatiseerd is, dus je kan zelf temperaturen alvast instellen. Dit is ook je filterkuip en je kookketel in één, dus dat maakt het wel handig ten opzichte van thuis een pot- en pannenwerken. Het werkt als volgt. Onderin de kuip zitten wat waterzuigpunten en verpomppunten, die zie je hier in het midden. En er zit een warmtespiraal op de bodem om hem op temperatuur te houden. Nou, hierin stop je de moutkorf. En er zit op de bodem een filterplaat. Hier bovenop gaan wij de mout storten. En dan komt er weer een filterplaat overheen. En dan zal die door circulering, dus hij stroomt eigenlijk iedere keer over, zal die constant gaan roeren door eigenlijk water door het filterbed heen. Nou, ik ben bijna klaar met de brouwdag. Het is inmiddels al behoorlijk wat uurtjes later. De Russian Imperial Stout is aan het gisten in de koelkast. Dus daar gaan we gewoon netjes op wachten. Rest nog maar één ding om te doen. En dat is de schoonmaken.
Very special. The nature is incredible and I directly fell in love with the island. The name of the brewery, Tessels, is related to the island. I'm very proud of my team. They're willing to learn and every day again they're standing there to make the best Tessels beer of that day. Hi, my name is Janneke van Rentgem and we're here at Tessels. The Tessels Beer Brewery exists since 1999, so that means that we celebrate this year 20 years of delicious beers. The thing what makes the Tessels beer very special, in my opinion, is that we have the barley and the wheat from the island. So that means that we use the local ingredients to make our beers. It's the ingredients that makes it really Tessels. The lighthouse is a very important element for the island. It's symbolic, so tourists recognize it. We also have a beer-related vuurbak. It's related to the lighthouse. It's also on the logo. So it's important to the island and directly also important for the brewery. The best part about brewing beer is to give people a smile. That's also a thing I like, and to work with the people. Our brewing process is actually quite traditional. You can see it in the brew house itself. We've got the copper kettles. It's almost completely manual. That makes the process unique in itself. I think Beerwolf makes it happen that people still have the opportunity to drink a skumkopper or other small brewery beers. It's a great solution. So the first moment that I tried skumkopper, I instantly fell in love with it. The taste of skumkopper is fruity, so it has some great esters in it. And furthermore, it has the recognizable creamy taste of Tessels. Having the people on the beaches, on the beach houses, they're having a skumkopper, you can see the light, it's incredible. I love it.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. After the long pause, the long-awaited wait, we have
Took longer than expected, the discussion.
longer than expected. We had a tough conversation, tough discussion. But first of all, before we go to the prize, we would like to remind you all of the prizes that are at stake. Third place gets 10 craft beers at Koperkat. Second place, 15 craft beers at Koperkat. And the first place, the best place, 20 craft beers at Koperkat and 600 liters brewed by the Koperkat, which is being spread across Delft. Prize that you want to win.
Sure. Yeah. So, and because it's all in collaboration with the Koperkat, we thought it'd be nice to give one more virtual tour. So let's switch to their brewery, have a look.
Mijn vader maakte vroeger wijn, al jarenlang. Hij heeft uiteindelijk ook zijn eigen wijngaard gehad. En ja, ik denk zelfs al toen ik een jaar of 12 was, ongeveer, sliep ik op zolder bij mijn ouders. En voor op de zolder stonden de flessen van mijn vader te bubbelen en te gisten. En ik vond dat wel interessant. Maar ja, ik ben zelf niet zo'n wijndrinker. Dus uiteindelijk, toen ik op mezelf ging wonen, ben ik begonnen met ja, hobbymatig eigenlijk bier brouwen. Gewoon met een klein pakketje begonnen. Uiteindelijk aan wat wedstrijden meegedaan. En ja, dat werd ook wel goed ontvangen. En toen dacht ik, ja, waarom maak ik van mijn hobby niet mijn werk? En dat is gelukt. Mijn naam is Mark Rieke. Ik werk bij Stadsbrouwerij de Koperen Kat hier in Delft. Daar ben ik brouwmeester, zoals dat zo mooi heet. En dat houdt in dat ik eigenlijk het hele brouwproces vanaf inkoop tot en met bottelen en brouwen tussendoor allemaal hier doe. De eigenaar Rolf, die heet Katten van zijn achternaam, dus vandaar de Koperen Kat. Koperen verwijst naar de ketels zoals vroeger gebruikt werden van koper. Hij is ooit eigenlijk hobbymatig begonnen met bierbrouwen en dat vond toch wel aftrek bij zijn vrienden. En toen dacht hij, nou, waarom ga ik daar niet iets mee doen? En eigenlijk is dat een beetje uit de hand gelopen. We begonnen met 20 liter, 50 liter, 100 liter, 200 liter installatie. En er staat nu een installatie om 1000 liter bier mee te produceren per keer. En toen heeft hij bedacht van ja, dan kan ik net zo goed toch een pand huren. Dat is het pand hier in de oude kabelfabriek in Delft. Mijn week begint meestal met 2 botteldagen. Dus 2 dagen om de al gebrouwen biertjes weg te werken in fles of fust of in de tanks die je hier achter me ziet. Ik brouw in een week dat ik brouw ik 2000 liter in de week, dus 2 batches van 1000 liter. Dat doe ik 3 weken achter elkaar. Omdat ik 6 vergistingstanks heb. En dan zitten ze vol. En aangezien het bier een 4 weken moet vergisten voordat het af is, vergisten en lageren, heb ik dan zeg maar 3 weken werk eraan en 1 week geen brouwsels. Maar dan valt er genoeg schoon te maken over het algemeen en op te ruimen en achterstallig dingen te regelen. Dus ik kom mijn tijd wel door over het algemeen. Ons hardslopende bier is de blonde Anouk. Dat is een simpel blond biertje, dus een blond bier wat iedereen eigenlijk wel lust. Genoemd naar de oudste dochter van de eigenaar, Anouk. En de onze triple Balthazar is ook zeer in trek. Mijn favoriete bier is de Oostporter. Een donkere, zware, zwarte, branderige porter van 8,5%. Ja, dat is het soort bier waar ik wel erg van hou. Ja, al met al hebben we 15 soorten bier op dit moment. Dus een ruime keuze eigenlijk voor iedereen.
So thanks, Mark, for the wonderful tour. And I think now that we've seen the Koperen Kat and tasted all the beers, it's time, I think we've arrived at the climax. So you've just seen where the winning beer will be brewed at the Koperen Kat. Well, over here, the jury has had a heated debate in the meantime about who should be the winners. So they had a top 4. And we can announce the top 4, and after that we'll leave it up to the jury to lead us through their thought process on how they decided the top 3. So the top 4 is Het Wort with the smoked porter, Dome Brewers with Eclipse, so the black IPA, Symbiose, Parasite, and Cerveceria de Pisa Immunity Boost.
Now for the most important part, top 3.
We have a nice platform behind us.
Yes, we do. For that we invite Vincent to take the lead and explain to us the top 3 and also the 4th beer that just didn't make it.
Yes, thank you. First of all, congratulations everyone for brewing these very nice variations of beers. A couple of weeks ago we started together this journey in explaining how do you brew a beer, what do you exactly need to focus on. And I think the results were very good, very diverse. That's also always nice to see at a beer tasting competition. I've been involved for a couple of years now, and I see a real great steep increase in the quality of beer. So hands up for you guys, real good results. So thank you very much. It made it very pleasant for us to also taste the beers as well, and I hope that at home you guys liked it as well. Secondly, I don't know if there will be time to say this, but there's a very large crew here in the background who have all facilitated this great beer event. So really thanks to everyone here in the background working together. It went really smooth on this end, and I hope for you at home as well. So now to the top 3. Let's first start with the number 3 and then we go upwards. Number 3, let's first start with the description of it. It's a very fresh beer. Could be drunken at the bar or really go outdoors, outside. It's a good refresher. It had a very spicy kind of flavor to it. And the number 3 therefore is the Immunity Boost.
We can show it now.
You get 10 craft beers from the Koperen Kat. This is coming your way.
Yeah.
So very nice beer. It's a ginger ale. So it was very pleasant to drink and to taste this beer. Like I said, it is a very diverse range that we've had tonight. And this one was therefore really coming out of the picture compared to all the other beers. It was nicely balanced, so job well done. Up to the number 2. This was a beer very well balanced indeed as well. And it's actually quite challenging to balance this because it contains 2 ingredients. On the one hand you have very dark malt flavors that are coming in for this beer. On the other hand you also have a smokiness to this beer, and that's very challenging to balance those 2. If you step out with one, then the other one disappears. And therefore also considering the style, it really fits together. They even made a combination of a food that would be recommended with it, a certain type of sandwich, and the professionals stated that it was also a very good chosen combination. So the number 2 is Het Wort, the smoked porter.
Congratulations. Also for you, there's a prize of 15 craft beers. You can pick them up.
So that means that we still have 2 beers left and only one can be the winner. So let's go in the description of the number 1. And then unfortunately that also means that we know which one is becoming the number 4. If we describe this beer, again, it's about balance. And that's also why we picked this beer. Because the further you go up in levels of beer brewing, the more challenging it becomes to get that balance right. And here it's the balance in bitterness. So on the one hand, you get the bitterness of the hops that you add. On the other hand, you get the bitter taste of the roasted malts that go into it. And if you get a good combination of the both of them, then you get a very good style beer that we were fortunate enough to be tasting tonight. It also had some fruity taste to it. So job well done. And that means that there's only one beer that is going to be the number 1, which is the Eclipse IPA.
Not only will you get 20 craft beers from Koperkat, 600 liters of your beer will also be brewed and distributed. So congrats.
Yeah. And to all the other teams, we hope you can, well, you'll have a taste of it once it's being sold.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you. Thank you to all the teams. And for our final word, we would like to invite our chairman to give her final few words and thank yous.
Thank you, Julian. So, my name is René and I'm the chairman of the Fermentation Festival committee. And I think everyone had a wonderful night over here. I hope everyone at home did as well. And of course, a great live stream wouldn't be possible without great hosts. So please, Maxim and Julian, I'd like to thank you. And we have a little gift for you, which you didn't know, but... And then next, I'd like to thank our great panel of jury members. So Fred, Rick, Puk, Henry, Mark, Bas, Vincent and Janneke. I'd like to thank you all for your great expertise and for all the feedback you gave on the craft beers. I think the people at home really liked your feedback, which normally isn't given this direct. So thank you for this. Well, normally they only hear which one wins instead of how good or bad their beer was. And then next, I'd like to thank our artists, Emer and Stijn, for your great performance tonight. Yeah, it sounded very well. And then finally, I'd like to thank everyone at X from behind the scenes, because without you, this live stream wouldn't have been possible. We wouldn't be even having this professional equipment. So thank you for this and for the great, every organization and all the meetings we had. They were very smoothly. And before, I also like to thank all the other members from the Fermentation Festival committee, because we did a really good job and we worked hard to get there, I think. So good job, everyone. And then finally, I have one last person to thank who isn't here. And actually, it's not one person, but 150 people. All the people at home who brewed these beers, because without you, there wouldn't be any beer here for us to taste and for everyone at home to taste. So thank you all, teams, and I hope to see you next year again. And with this, I'd like to end the live stream. Right? Zal ik deze...